What's going on? I am Nando.
And I am DJ.
And I am Diggins.
And this is Mostly Nitpicking, a podcast where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. This week. Third time we've ever done this on the podcast, done a Disney live-action remake.
So, have we done Lion?
Yeah, we must have done Lion King. So, Aladdin, Lion King. I don't think we've...
Did we do Jungle Book?
No.
I think it's my first one.
And we definitely didn't do Lady and the Tramp, the one that they pretend they didn't make.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
Right? I was trying to think, because I was... So, this thought ran through my head as I was watching this. The one we're going to do right now, not the original, which I also just watched. But, like, I was wondering, okay... Well, we could start with this. So we're gonna do 2020's Disney's Mulan, Disney Plus's Mulan,
Premier
Disney
Access.
Plus Premier Access. Yeah. So this is my question, right? Disney charged $30 for Premier Access to rent Mulan. Mm-hmm. Do you think they could have gotten away with? So let's say they sold 2 versions of Disney Plus this whole time. Disney Plus, just the Disney stuff, and maybe some new original stuff, and then Disney Plus Premium, and that has The Mandalorian and Artemis Fowl and all the extra shit and Mulan. You don't have to pay more money when you get a movie.
Yeah, it's a higher tier.
Yeah, a higher tier for original content versus, like, your kid wants to watch Frozen on loop, so get the subscription to that.
Right.
Do you think they could have gotten away with that?
Yes.
I think it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint, because then you just have people up the tier for the month the thing comes out, watch it, and then downgrade again.
So I thought about that. So the alternative is, well, I guess then what you would say to Disney Plus, and what you would say as a consumer is like, all right, Disney, you better keep making things I want to see, otherwise you're going to get canceled. Because I just pretty much canceled Disney Plus. Or
we could squeeze every drop of blood out of our customers as we possibly can without having to do any extra work.
Well, but then, so squeezing blood out, there's part of me that's like, I think that would have gotten them more money if they planned to put Mulan and I don't know. I mean, if like the Lady and the Tramp movie was any good, or like, you know, Artemis Fowl was any good. But if they made that something where you don't have to judge each movie individually, you're just kind of like, all right, what's the Disney movie this month? What's the new Disney show this month? If it was more of an event kind of expectation versus like piece, you know, you gotta piece everything together, because it does seem like, having gone through Disney Plus and just gone through the pandemic and kind of seen what the, you know, how movies have been released versus delayed, besides Tenet, it does seem like almost every movie that has been released is bad. And every movie that has gotten delayed is good, or at least they think it'll make enough money that it's like worth, you know, holding on to. Right? Wonder Woman is another one that's like probably going to get delayed in a day or two.
I think it already got delayed to like December, didn't it?
I don't think it. I think it hasn't officially been delayed until December. That's what I think. Currently on the books, it's October, but. Unless that was today, the 9th. That's the last time I read it. But it's probably going to take Dune's spot in December. And then Dune is going to be 21. But, so, I think the problem that Disney would run into is, like, yeah, between Mulan, Artemis Fowl, even Onward, I don't think they've put out a winner. An absolute, like, Mandalorian style, wow, this is better than not watching this. That would justify Disney Plus.
Okay,
Premium.
I think Onward was better than watching a wall for an hour and a half.
I'm better off here. I'm better off having watched Onward than have not watched Onward. So I think that is. I would put Onward in the success category, even if it's there by itself.
I completely disagree. I don't think it was terrible, but it feels like a nothing movie.
Wow.
It left no impression on me. I don't know. I mean, I made a whole video about it, and I forget that I made that video, and it was like 3 months ago. Like, it's just, I don't know. I mean, have you ever quoted it? Has it
I don't think it's about that.
Popped into your consciousness just randomly?
So I think that Onward is an enjoyable experience while you go through it. It didn't really leave anything on me, per se, but, like, I definitely enjoyed it while I was there. I would watch it again. I think it's fun and a good watch. It's a nice little romp.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess what I mean is I wouldn't say it's a winner. I would say it falls. God, this is so like all over the place now, but I would say it probably falls in the lower half of the Pixar output.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I'm trying to think of like above average Pixar replacement movies, and it's always like the sequels. It's like Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
Like those are always, and I would put this like above, maybe right there. It's tough, but like if it's so far afield from like, I feel like what you're talking about, these other movies that have come out during the pandemic, putting Mulan in that category.
Yeah. I guess that's
Artemis
fair.
Fowl. Like, these are historic, just awful movies. Your money planes, if you will.
Oh, God. Money Plane. Yeah.
Money Plane brought me so much joy in my life.
Yeah,
though.
Money Plane will have such
That's true.
Like,
I'm
it will leave
better
way
off.
more of an impression on me than any of these movies. Like, Onward, I guess it's more like if Onward, so seeing Onward, I guess a movie that I'd say is a winner is one that at the end of this year, if I was like, okay, which movies did I see? And I just wrote them down, they'd be in the top, like, 15 in just memory. Not even like, did I like them or not? Just like, did it leave any impression on me whatsoever? And yeah, I think Onward, I forget I saw, you know, on a daily basis. Not on a daily basis, but like, it's something that I never really think about, as opposed to like Money Plane. Even like Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know. That one's also kind of a nothing movie, but this has been a lot of nothing movies this year.
Well, that's a huge part of like the pandemic, right? We would have had some good ones. Theoretically.
Would we have, though?
We would have had James Bond, and I feel like that would have been like quite good.
I don't know, man. I know the formula is one good, one bad, one good, one bad, but also
Well, the Daniel Craig formula, to be clear.
yeah. I still don't trust them to make a good one in general. My expectations for Bond are incredibly low, just because of Spectre.
Well, I
And
mean,
'cause
they
I
made
don't-
Quantum of Solace, and then they made Skyfall. I mean, you know.
I think Skyfall gets along on visuals and like choreography or cinematography, and I think the story and just like the plot of that movie is fine. But I
mean,
would say
that's a James Bond movie, baby.
I think the plot of Casino Royale is way more kind of just tight. It feels like a plot versus Skyfall, which feels like a bunch of scenes strung together by like James Bond is like, I guess I'm gonna go to this place now, or like the villain's like, I guess I'm gonna go to this place now, and then they just go to that place, and they're like, it's almost like a not great video game where it's like, this is the next level, it's at my old house or whatever. But anyway, I was gonna say the problem with Spectre is it got into James Bond's bullshit destiny, and it seems like from the trailer this next movie also has some of James Bond's bullshit destiny in it, and that's the worst thing a James Bond movie can do. If I had to make a really weird assertion, but I feel like that, besides like have him, you know, snowboard or surf down like a giant wave, it's the worst thing it can do. And besides have him like manhandle a woman, it's the worst thing a modern James Bond movie can do is get into James Bond's awful destiny.
Well, I guess that's just one example, but I feel like we would have had some good movies.
I like to believe
we'll
so.
Never know.
Black Widow, maybe. Like that would have been fine, probably.
Yeah, we would have had Black Widow.
We would have had, you know.
I know you
Go
disagree,
ahead.
but Wonder Woman, I think,
Yeah.
and I know you disagree, but I still think that would have been good. It's hard that basically there was like the Trolls Onward era where it's like, all right, we're releasing these movies even though it's like pandemic season, but we don't know about it yet. So yeah, then it was there's no movies being released.
Yep.
And then it was like, here's Money Plane, here's some weird movies.
And well, DJ, you think Money Plane would have been in theaters?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think that was.
fair.
I think if anything, Money Plane thought this was its best option. Was like, oh my god, everyone's at home. Money Plane is gonna hit big, baby, like a casino, like a Money Plane casino.
Like some kind of flying receptacle for cash.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now I think we're in the era of like, okay, we're going to release some movies that we're supposed to, but we'll do it now. So your Mulans, your Tenants. And I don't know, it's just weird. Like, I've read very little about Tenet. Is it supposed to be good? I'll never know until it's VOD.
Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard. How about this? I've heard it is the most Christopher Nolan of the Christopher Nolan movies.
Ooh.
But, you know, good and bad. Kind of like it lets his worst and best impulses reign free. or run free, like pulls the reins out, and it's just like
there is truly no writing for female characters. It is just gone.
Probably. I mean, they probably are like. I mean, their memories. There's
Right.
probably some sort
I'm
of.
sure, I'm sure somebody's wife has died, and he's sad about it.
Yeah. I mean, I legitimately don't know if any women are in that movie besides Elizabeth Debicki, who I don't even know if she I haven't seen her speak a word in any of the trailers, so she could be a dead memory wife. But yeah, it's that. It's like, lots and lots and lots of complicated technical exposition and well choreographed and well visualized action sequences.
Well,
it's probably good. But yeah, I mean, I haven't heard that. I've heard no one has said. At least I don't think the consensus in it is like it's as good as Inception or The Dark Knight or anything else, Interstellar even. That's like, wow, Chris Nolan hits another home run. I think it's currently a 74 on Rotten Tomatoes. So like, however, this Mulan is a 75, and
whoa, it is? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm previewing what I think of this movie, but
I know.
holy shit.
Bill and Ted's an 81, so
Should be 100.
Yeah, like the system isn't perfect. But where were we going with this? Right, movies that get released and stuff. I think Disney. I wonder how much money. Do you think a lot of people saw this?
Bill and Ted, another movie that would have been in theaters, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what's crazy, Nando? We'll never know, because I don't think Disney's going to be upfront with those numbers.
None of them are. None of them ever. Like, they'll release a number if they feel like it, but there's no way to know if it's true or not.
Well, I think the number will be true if it's a big number, and if it's not a big number, we won't hear about it. Like, if somehow they can prove they got 5 million downloads or something to their shareholders, then like they'll definitely tell us. But I don't think I haven't heard anything yet. It's been a week, right? No, it's been it's been a weekend, but that's kind of what you're used to for opening weekends for movies.
But even those viewing numbers, like if you look at the definition for what like Netflix counts as a view, it'll be like watched this for 7 non-consecutive seconds.
Oh, sure. I just mean who paid for it. Like, who bought this movie from Disney.
That's true.
Like, I feel like they should have that number, and if it was a big number, they'd tell us.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like things where it's like, well, if a family of 4 buys it, do we get like tickets as if 4 eyeballs had seen it? So, or 4 sets of eyeballs had seen it? Like, I don't know. I don't know how much Mulan's broken into like the cultural zeitgeist. It feels like not a crazy amount.
Yeah.
Well, there's one part. There's one part of it that's definitely broken into the cultural conversation.
Oh yeah, we should talk about that at some point, right?
Yeah, we should.
Are we talking about the scene that they should show in every film class forever? One of my favorite memes that came out of Game of Thrones has permeated its way into this.
I mean, yes, absurd that they included that.
But
no,
I
think I know what you're talking about, and yeah, I did want to get at that before we get into the actual substance of this movie. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I would agree, at least from my impressions on social media and anything I consume. Very little conversation about this movie compared to something like Bill and Ted's, honestly, and maybe it's just like an age range thing. But I mean, I feel like this movie is aimed at much like older audiences than the original. Not like much older, but I would say it's
all the
teen
live action remakes. It's like they're kind of aimed at the people who grew up with these movies.
Exactly. So I feel like if there was even a rumbling of if there was any cultural relevance to this movie, you would kind of you'd get a whiff of it at least. Whereas like Bill and Ted, there were a lot of people
little snoof.
Yeah, just a little like just you would have wafting, just you would have smelled a little bit. Mulan, that it did come out. Like I think if it weren't for think pieces online, videos making fun of it, and advertisements, I would be hard pressed to just know this movie was released this week. I would have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Whereas with like Bill and Ted, at least eventually I'd run into someone who was like, Bill and Ted movie was awesome. What a great movie. Like I saw a fair amount of those, which is what reminded me to watch this movie, like Bill and Ted. And then, that's how, because word of mouth is so important now because there's so few other metrics and ways to, get things out. But anyway, 2020's Mulan. We're going to talk about it. We're going to spoil it, but first we won't spoil it. And I know what you're thinking is a remake Does it have spoilers? The answer is yes. They're bizarre, and you'd never guess them from just being like, what could this Mulan be like? But if you want to go in fresh, we'll tell you when to stop listening. But before that, let's talk about the movie as a product and as as a manufactured piece of something. They did a bad thing, maybe. They didn't. Way to go, Disney. I mean,
I don't know about maybe, actually. I would say, like, pretty definitively a bad thing.
Yeah, more or less.
Where
do you want to explain it?
Do I want to explain it? No, I want Diggins to explain it.
Okay, yeah, Diggins, you can explain it.
He's the one to explain these things.
Great. I'm glad that this is my job.
I mean, come on, man. Diggins, if you're to be honest, who do you trust? Me, who can't say sentences frequently, or you, who reads?
I mean, the pronunciations alone.
Yeah.
I think we can go with, like, just general kind of, like, this is the I mean, the general idea of it is...
I know how to pronounce them. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's go, then. Get your pronunciation scorecards ready, everybody.
Wow. So, there's a little section in the credits of this movie, if you're an eagle-eyed viewer, where it thanks a few officials in a region of China where they did some filming for their help.
That's
in
normal,
making this
right?
movie.
That's
a normal
That's like
thing
how
to
at
do.
the end of every Marvel movie it says, like, way to go, Georgia.
Yeah, thanks,
and has little
Georgia.
Peach, and it's like, thank you.
Uh-huh. Now,
So what was strange about this?
well, you see, Nando, this little region of China is called Xinjiang, and it has something that that Georgia thankfully doesn't, which is, well, it's just a small matter of the largest system of concentration camps in the world.
And, like, so that's...
It's a little thing like the systematic genocide of the Uyghur people.
Yeah.
A Muslim minority in the northwest of China. It's just a little
And,
thing. Just a little thing
yeah,
like that. Just a tiny little thing like that.
Just a little thing. And this was just like a special thanks. Almost like... And like, we'd never... Like, not like we'd never know. I'm sure word of this would get out. But... It feels strange that they even put it in at all. Doesn't seem like the thing. It like seems like they know probably not to publicize it.
I feel like, you
Yeah.
know what? China's a big country, and I feel like you could have found places that look like the places you filmed that aren't the home to the largest system of concentration camps in the world. I think you could have done that.
That is true. And,
Also, I'm sorry, Nando, go ahead.
oh, and I was going to say, this movie seems like it was filmed almost exclusively on sets. Very little of this movie actually looked like it was filmed on any location whatsoever.
Actually,
so,
they did mostly film on location. There was very little like CGI in
Really?
the backgrounds or sets or anything. Yeah, actually.
even like the house.
I mean, maybe like the house was a set. Sure,
The house looked like a set, and the city looked like a set.
that might
like,
be the case. But like most
So I
of the
guess
stuff
I
that's
just-
like outside is not set.
Sure. Yeah, I just mean those ones. The ones that I'm like, it's not necessarily that the whole movie looked like sets, but there were some things that I was like, that is a set, as opposed to like that's a real thing in a world. But anyway, yeah, no, it seems like they could have probably gotten away with that.
Yeah, but
They chose not to.
They chose to do another thing instead, which was to film again in a region of China that is by far the most famous at this moment of history for having, and I cannot emphasize this phrase enough, the largest system of concentration camps in the world.
Also, it's bizarre that they thanked them because, like, it's been, I shit you not, like a month after John Oliver did a segment on it, and I know that, like, John Oliver's not, like, huge, but I wouldn't have known what this thing was had I not seen that piece. It's just like,
Yeah,
it
like
felt
that just
so
guarantees
weirdly
that chuckle fucks like us will even know about it.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah, exactly. It's like a
exactly.
watershed, or not a watershed, but yeah, it's like kind of, all right, now you probably have to not do it anymore. Not do it. I mean, they should not do it, but they just not publicize that they know that, you know.
It's like, you know, that, like, those, like, oh, yeah, those idiots watching HBO to get their fucking news. They
Yeah.
know.
But,
Those
I mean-
Axios readers.
The
They
relationship with Disney and China is a tricky one at best.
Yeah, they have a fucking Disneyland in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
You know,
and at
on the
worst,
one hand,
it is. Yeah,
it's like on the one hand, China is the government of China is often repressive and, you know, currently doing a genocide. Not great. On the other hand, there's all that money though.
Yeah.
Right.
You can get all that money.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, like, it's so tough because, like, okay, so it seems like there seems to be some sort of shift in the last maybe 5 years to, you know, movies making more of an effort to appeal to maybe like even let's say 10 to like the global market in ways that sometimes come off as kind of pandery, like Iron Man 3, where they just added a couple scenes in China where Iron Man goes to China and looks around and goes, pretty good, and then leaves, and you don't see that in America. But if you watch it in China, you see it. Kind of like DJ's airplane version, where they don't show the airplane parts if you're in an airplane. But they got that, like, stuff like that. And then there's all the business with, like, the NBA. I guess that's not a Disney and, like, an entertainment, but just more of an entertainment thing. And this, I think, it's funny because when Mulan was announced, the remake of Mulan, 1998's Mulan, one of Disney's original animated movies from, like, not original, but, like, from that golden age, it seemed like there was one of the main reasons they were remaking it is, like, we want one that is, like, culturally, like, you know, more sensitive to the culture that the story comes from, as opposed to just, like...
Not that we'll allow any Asian people to... you know, be creative leads on the film. Don't be ridiculous.
Apparently, yeah. Which that also bizarre. But yeah, it's so strange that they went like, I don't know. It just seems like.
Also, you know, it's just I wouldn't have thought twice about the fact that Mulan is a story about defeating the evil Turkic invaders from the Northwest Steppes. If you didn't do something like this. But then it makes me think, like,
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, right.
It's like they were in a football field of, like, success. And it was just like, we're going to make a movie that is culturally significant in a time where one of the largest markets in the world is becoming a big consumer for entertainment. We're going to take this story from the most popular company that makes entertainment, and we're going to remake that. So everybody that liked it in America will probably at least have some interest. And everybody in China will be like, oh, I've heard of this one. This is the one of, like, the, you know, what is it, poem or something of, like, the historical poem of Mulan.
This is the one about honor, the thing that's so important to us.
Yeah, we love honor.
And so they had this whole football field of possibilities, and then right in the middle there was this rake, and they just raced to the rake and stepped on it with both feet, just like a cannonball, jumped in the air, and just made that the weirdest, biggest, most obvious don't do that mistake kind of mistake. And do you, like, I mean, it's impossible to know why they did it exactly this way, but I mean,
honestly,
any goodwill that possibly existed, at least in the U.S. and, like, overseas, I can't say what this is like in China itself, because, you know, it's a little, like, repressive, you know, because governments, not to say all governments are great, but anyway, it seemed like it burned all the goodwill it could have possibly created by just being the most, you know, true to the original story version of that story that had been filmed.
It really feels like to get that money. Like, I shit you not.
But you don't think, like, I mean, yes, but I can imagine at some point to get the money part, they would be like, hey, by the way, we checked out, your movie looks great. I mean, it's bad, but it looks great, and it's going to make lots of money. Real quick, there's this weird thing in the credits we think you should get rid of. It will get you more money. Like, do you think no one was aware of that? Or do you think the government was just like, these are the credits you get? Or do you think Disney was like, yeah, fucking who watches the credits?
I mean, it might genuinely be a legal thing where, like, you have to, like, thank like location places and stuff. Like, I'm sure people don't thank Georgia in their credits out of the goodness of their hearts.
I mean, that peach makes me very, like, it's very wholesome peach. It makes me go like, way to go, good old American, you know, Avengers Endgame or Black Panther or whatever. I don't know. But they, you know, it's almost become something I, like, expect right before the post-credits scene that makes me get excited for the post-credits scene in Marvel movies. I don't know if that's just a consequence of us watching more credits. Yeah.
Yeah, they've trained you. No, you know what I think it is too? I think they know, like, it'll blow over. this doesn't matter, people forget, and long term we want to preserve that relationship with China because for the next however many decades, that's going to be where the money's at. Like, it's such a... You'd rather endear that goodwill toward them than worry about whatever stupid PR thing comes from this that'll blow over. Like, how many people are actually mad and, like, actually are like, that's it, I'm done with Disney? Like, we're doing a podcast on it. We watched it.
Well, hey, listen, listener out there, don't buy this movie.
Yeah, don't buy it. It's not good
Don't buy
anyway,
it.
but
Yeah.
also you could protest it for this reason if you want. And then
I
there's
think
all the
this
other, and then
movie's
there's
fine, but you shouldn't buy it because of the concentration camps.
well, even if you don't want to do concentration camps and you don't want to do director and like production team, like was not from the actual country where the movie takes place, you could even do the original criticism of this movie was the lead actress's support for China and against Hong Kong during the riots.
Oh, right,
That
yeah.
was-
She, like, loves
was
when
awkward.
the cops beat people in Hong Kong.
And she
Yeah.
was like at me, right? She's like, I don't give a fuck. Just like,
Now,
bring it.
to be fair to her, and this is why when this criticism came, I was like, I don't know about this. A lot of the stars in China do that, and a lot of it seems like the government, maybe, possibly, who knows, comes to your house and it's like, you better do this, otherwise,
Sure.
grandma's going. Yeah, like it could be
Yeah.
anything. Because like, and also, if we want to cancel everybody that like does that, it's gonna be a really small list. You're gonna have to get rid of like Jackie Chan, and, like a lot of people
Right.
we already like. Not to say that's not the right thing to do, but I do, at least for her, like for this actress, I want to give her potentially the benefit of the doubt. But that was, if you wanted to, not watch this movie or not be like, oh, is there a third good reason to potentially protest watching this movie? Yeah, it's that one. It's had nothing but bad press kind of from the start, which is a shame.
Is
Or
it though?
No, it's
yeah,
not.
I was gonna say it's
I
not
don't
like it's
like
hiding
this
this
movie.
like
Yeah.
amazing fucking masterpiece. It's bad. It's a bad movie.
We'll get to our opinions as we get, because we do have differing opinions there, kind of. But
Yeah.
those are the three things. Is there any other bizarre thing that they did, or like anything else that's terrible about it? I'm trying to
I don't
think.
think so.
That's the big ones. And I mean, those are pretty big. And it's not the kind of thing you see every day.
I will
I don't
say-
expect Dune to also have that one in there. It's
just like bullet in the chamber. I will say too, like sometimes Medium falls into like the category of like, it's not meant for you. I don't think this is an instance of that. I think this is just bad. But like, if I were a member of the Asian community and I was really excited to have like a full like Asian cast and for that to be a feature and then it sucks, like that's a bummer. Like I'm not happy. I think it's bad. Like,
I mean, to be fair to the original one, besides Harvey Fierstein and the villain, fully Asian cast.
yeah, fair.
More or less. Like I think I don't know if they're all like Chinese
Nando.
or whatever. But
Are you certain there might not be one other non-Asian cast member that you're
Oh.
forgetting?
the singer? Oh, forgot about him too.
Yeah.
And obviously Mushu. But yeah, so 4 non-Asian cast members, which not great, but also like when you look through it in the credits, you're like, oh, cool, that guy. Like it's weird. Did you remember? Okay, here. Do you remember who plays this? So who plays Mulan in the original? Let's go through some of knock some of the big ones out.
Ming-Na Wen.
That's right. Do you remember who plays the whatever the hunky general is in the original?
Zhang, I think his name.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I don't.
It's Jurassic Park zone BD Wong.
Oh.
How about
However, when he
that?
sings, it's Donny Osmond, but we'll ignore that for now. Do you remember who plays the main ancestor who's like, Mushu, you're fired for
Yeah,
being
you
a...
suck.
Yeah.
That's George Takei, isn't it?
It is George Takei.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember who plays... Well, okay, how about the guy that's like his right-hand man who's like, a nerd
Oh, the
scribbling.
tall hat guy? Yeah, tall
Yeah.
hat guy. I don't.
It's like David Lopan, whatever that actor's name is. I can't remember.
Huh.
But like from Big Trouble in Little China, he's in everything. It's that guy. I feel like I know his name. You know who I'm talking about?
Like
The guy who's like, he's the goose or the duck in Kung Fu Panda, who's the dad.
Oh,
pretty
shit.
sure it's that dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him. How about the Emperor in original Mulan? This one really surprised me. Pat Morita, aka Karate
fuck.
Kid zone, like so like it was a who's who of like guys. You're like, oh yeah, all right, George Takei, forget about you. I kind of when I heard George Takei, I was like, is this BD Wong again? for a second I was like, did he do both voices? And then I was like, oh my god, how did I not hear George Takei? But it was, besides Mushu, who, is not supposed to be like, I mean, he's supposed to be a Chinese spirit, but he's not like a person, a human being that like is doing like a fake Chinese accent or something terrible like that. And the villain, who is the guy from Iron Man 3, speaking of Iron Man 3, who he's the vice president who betrays the president.
Okay.
I forget that actor's name, but he's also in everything. I mean, I think he died last year or the year before. And then his henchman, who was played by Frank Welker, a.k.a. Megatron. Besides them, pretty decent cast. More than I remembered. Having thought about it and being like, oh, cool, this is an all-Asian cast. You're like, oh, the other one was pretty good, too. Not perfect, obviously, but yeah. So Mulan, 2020's Mulan, it's a movie.
So, all right.
That's true. It is a movie.
Is there more to it than that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we could go through the details of the movie.
I guess we could start with the biggest details.
The IMDb
summary.
summary.
The IMDb summary, yeah. Now, how about this? Let's do it this way. I will read you the IMDb summary for Mulan 1.
Okay.
Mulan, 1997.
And then we have to guess the IMDb summary of Mulan 2, the direct-to-video sequel.
I've never seen that. Have you guys seen that?
No. I asked Michelle about it before. I'm like, they should make that movie live action. Apparently it sucks. Do you want to know what the plot is? All the
Disney direct-to-video sequels suck except the Aladdin one.
I'm going to take a wild guess. I'm going to bet the child of the two, Mulan and the hunky trainer guy, have a child that has to fight like the villain's child or something.
Nope, that would be much better.
That's like what Lion King 2 is, right? Kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, again, I've never seen it. I'm going off of what Michelle told me like an hour ago. So apparently, like, Mulan is like, oh, I want to be like cool adventure, and she's like getting into not fights, but she's like arguing with Zhang because it's like, oh, I need you to raise a family. This is your job now.
Did they forget what the other one was?
Yeah, he's like, I know I was attracted to you because you were like cool and adventurous and everything, but now that we're actually married, you have to, stay at home.
Well, and the first one ends with her also getting like a seat at the war table or something.
Yeah.
And then she's like, who knows? But anyway.
Yeah, so, but then she gets like a job from the Emperor. So the job from the Emperor is, I need you to escort my 3 daughters to their respective husbands. And it's Mulan with like the 3 guys, like Harvey Fierstein, the fat guy and the skinny guy. And then they fall in love with the girls that they're escorting, and it's like, oh, what's gonna happen? And yeah, that's like the plot of
Mulan falls in love with them?
No, sorry, the 3 guys each fall in love with one of the Emperor's daughters.
That's awful.
Right?
Why would you watch that? I mean, why would you? Because that's how they work.
They should make a live-action remake.
Yeah, right. I mean, might
Wouldn't
as well.
that be fun?
That's what maybe it'll be so bad it's good. Maybe that'll be the fun of it. So the 1998 summary for Mulan. So I looked at it. It's so similar to the 2021. This wouldn't even be fun. So how about you just give me the 2021?
Okay. I'll go first.
Okay.
Because why not? Okay. After her... Wait, weren't you going to read us the original one?
He said they're so similar that it's...
They're so similar it wouldn't be fun.
They're too... My bad. Okay. After an army comes to invade China, a man is drafted into the Imperial Army. An elderly man is drafted into the Imperial Army. His daughter Mulan pretends to be a man and takes place in his stead to bring honor to her family.
Okay, Diggins, what do you think?
A young woman disguises herself as a man and takes her father's place in the Chinese army to fend off an invasion by the Ruan, I think? People.
Something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's Diggins' one. I mean, you had way too many extra words, but you pretty much got the beginning. The IMDb summary is just a young Chinese maiden disguises herself as a male warrior in order to save her father. And then the 1998 one is to save her father from death in the army. A young maiden secretly goes in his place and becomes one of China's greatest heroines in the process. So yeah, they're way too similar to be fun.
Ruran.
What's up?
That's the name of the peoples depicted in this movie, the Ruron.
Oh, did not realize that.
Can they perform magic? Is that like part of their?
Well,
people's...
if you were paying attention,
Don't you
DJ, she wasn't a Ruron. She just
My bad.
She was in fact from China, but chose to join them.
You know, but it did seem like the main guy had some of that weird chi magic going on.
Well, she
I'm not
taught
saying
them
that-
how to do chi magic. Why don't you
We'll-
pay attention
we'll-
to the movie?
We'll get to it. We'll get to it because I have other questions about chi magic that I think
I want to
the
be very
movie
clear.
Definitely doesn't answer.
I'm not calling chi magic. This movie is.
This
I want to
movie,
be very, very clear.
I want to get into their definition of a witch. Because it's like, you have this woman who can, like, possess people and turn into 1,000 birds, and people go, witch. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then later, like, Mulan's good with a sword, and they're like, witch. And I'm like, now, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
These
What's
are
your
inconsistent.
standard for witch? Because the first one I was on board with, but...
It's bizarre. I think this movie, it came out this year on Disney Plus, which we've already talked about. It's
Premiere
weird,
access.
but it's what you got to do. Yeah. It was going to be released in theaters in like March or something, or not March, probably. I think in like May.
No, I think it was March.
Oh, really?
Like originally, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like the March 28th, if my
Yeah.
weird brain remembers properly.
Sounds right. But then obviously it got delayed. It was directed by Nikki Caro, who is like some, I don't know.
She's from New Zealand.
Yeah, she made like Whale Rider and Zookeeper's Wife.
Ah,
I don't know, man. I don't know how she snagged this
Cool.
job.
right.
Yeah. Can't
Wait,
even guess.
so she directed a movie about a woman who stood up in her own quiet way to people creating what was at the time the largest system of concentration camps in the world.
Wait, is that what Zookeeper's Wife is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Wife
what
is
that movie
about
is.
a woman who in the like abandoned, not abandoned, but like rundown zoo that her husband owns in Nazi Germany uses it to hide Jewish people.
Well, then that explains it. That's why they got her. She's like, yeah, she just, I don't know.
So when
spoke
she
to
was
them.
on location, and she was just like, "This feels right."
Yeah,
that
I
like-
don't know.
Oh my god.
She's I didn't watch McFarland USA North Country. I don't know. She didn't write this movie, but like, what is there to write? I mean, apparently quite a lot.
Yeah, you have to allude to stuff from the first movie, which only means something if you've seen the first movie. Otherwise,
don't-
it's like, what's this nonsense?
Oh my god, I couldn't be more upset with that. They get the writer of a couple of movies that it's kind of interesting. So one of the writers of the screenplay, his name is Rick Jaffa. He wrote most of all of the new Planet of the Apes movies and Jurassic World. So some good, some bad. Amanda Silver, same team, or same stuff. So there seems to be some sort of team. Elizabeth Martin, who wrote Boy Eats Girl, A Zombie Love Story, Christmas Perfection, and this. And then Lauren Hanick, who wrote those things as well. So very eclectic team of writers, 4, which is the ideal amount for a screenplay. This stars a bunch of actors, most notably, so you've got Yufei Liu, is that how you pronounce it? Yufei? Yifei? I probably should have figured this out before we started.
I don't know.
Yifei?
She plays Yifei? Yeah, that sounds right. She plays the titular Mulan. Besides that, you got Donnie Yen as the Commander Tung. You got Li Gong and Zhen Ying. I think that's the witch actors. That seems right. Jet Li plays the Emperor, apparently. Which, I had no idea. Did you guys catch that?
No,
neither.
not till looking at cast list.
Yeah.
Which
Jason's,
cool.
Yeah, good to have him in, I guess. I don't know. Jason Scott Lee plays Bori Khan, the villain of the movie. And then, there's a bunch of other characters that all kind of are the same. I'm trying to think of another character of note. It's like her friends. I'm trying to find, I think, the hunky guy in this, who is now her, oh yeah, that's definitely him, is Yoso An. He is the, his character's name is Hongui. He is her love interest, who is now, in this new version, her, is another soldier.
Yeah.
because Donnie Yen is the commander.
Yeah, for some reason they split that character into two characters.
Maybe they thought it made more sense for the commander to be Donnie Yen and love interest be a foot soldier.
So I think they wanted a love interest, obviously, because, that's how
Disney
movies
movie.
work, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But I think because, and I forget where I read this, but because of, maybe Me Too considerations, they didn't want her to be dating her or, fall in love with her commanding officer. It's some, take that with a grain of salt. But maybe that's why they did it.
But again, the concentration camps, they were fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not, you can't win them all, apparently. But that's the cast. There's a bunch of other people in it. They come and go. This movie is longer than you'd expect.
It's 2 hours almost, right?
It is just slightly less than 2 hours. It continues the Disney live-action movie trend of being longer than the movies they're based on. Although, unlike Lion King, it at least has the good grace to not be longer while also having to cut things out because it's paced so poorly.
Oh,
yeah,
fair.
Fair.
I would say the pacing in this movie is very poor compared to the other one.
Fine. It's not. It's definitely worse than the original, which is paced really well.
Yeah, the pacing of the original is great.
But I mean, the Lion King remake is 30 minutes longer than the original, and yet they had to cut things out from the original because they didn't have enough time.
Yeah, that is
boggles my mind.
This movie also, the most notable thing about it is, unlike all of the other Disney live-action reboots, except for Cinderella, which I haven't seen, so maybe not that one, features none of the original music. It has some motifs, but no songs. No Disney singing, dancing Broadway numbers.
It has that reflection motif. It loves that reflection motif.
Yeah,
so
and
much.
It's unbelievable. It made me so angry because it didn't earn it. But whatever. The song or the movie itself got, like we said, 75 on Rotten Tomatoes. What did you guys think of it? DJ, let's start with you.
Trash movie. Such a trash movie.
All right. How about this? Before that, we all liked the original, right?
Love it.
Yeah. Original
10 out
Mulan's
of 10,
great.
amazing.
Masterpiece.
It's got its problems. When people talk about its problems, when you get it into the larger context of Asian representation and how it makes how it characterizes specific tropes. I get those issues, and just from a plain old story, entertaining movie, music, action, all that stuff. It's so good. I think it might be the best one. I really do. I've never thought about that before, but I think it might be the best Disney animated movie.
Oh, I thought you meant just best movie, period.
It could be, honestly. It's up there. I liked it a lot. It's funny. The pacing is great. The animation's awesome. It has a really solid, tight script. Characters are all super likable. It has color. Everything about it is good. But, a lot of the other ones are good. So a lot of that's just kind of preference. Some people like Lion King more. Some people like Hercules more. I get it. Aladdin, whatnot. So we all like that one. DJ, you think this new one is trash. Diggins,
I do.
What do you think of this new one?
I think it's okay. It definitely has some pretty big problems, and it's nowhere near as good as the original. But there's things I liked about it. I really like the look of it. I think the idea to make it more of a wuxia movie is very interesting, and I thought a lot of the fight scenes in that vein were cool. I thought there were parts of it that were interesting. I think it looks great, fun action scenes. The story kind of falls apart. And some other not great stuff. So overall, didn't love it, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm right halfway between you guys. I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen. I think it obviously pales in comparison with the original in just
it might be the best Disney live-action remake, which is...
Nope, Jungle Book.
Yeah, Jungle Book's the best one. I think
okay.
Jungle Book is...
I'd give you that, actually.
And I think Jungle Book's one of the only ones that actually, not improved necessarily... Because, Beauty and the Beast thinks it's improving when it's she teaches the kids to read. And, where was Mrs. Potts' husband? But I think it, does it differently enough. Maintains the themes, but is, It's a new kind of movie.
This is a different movie. It's not just like a retelling of the original. With look at all these effects.
And like I said, never seen Cinderella. I've heard very good things. And I have a feeling that movie is a little bit probably better than this in terms of like maintaining the story more or less without, I don't know. This movie was weird. If it struck me as just strange. And part of it might be, like Diggins was saying, this wushu, influence. Can you describe what that is? Because I'm legitimately like, I've heard this before. But what does that mean?
It's the proper Chinese name for basically like kung fu movies.
So like what parts of this movie felt like that more so than the original Mulan did, besides just the way certain action scenes were filmed? And even that, like,
I mean, when I say that, I am mostly talking about like certain action scenes, the way that the fighting played out. Like, I'm specifically thinking of like, we don't care about spoilers at this point, right?
Nah,
I mean, this
it's
is barely a
Mulan,
spoiler,
but it's worse. The story's pretty similar, but you know.
I mean, this is something that definitely didn't happen in the original, but like the scene where the emperor like beats up two guys by pulling on a curtain and like uses the curtain like extensions of his arms to beat them up. Like,
yeah,
kind of like goofy shit like that is also very wuxia. So that kind of thing, mostly.
Interesting. So like, yeah, I think it's funny because this movie is probably it's weird because it's different in ways that aren't consistent with any, not like aren't consistent, but are hard to pin down because like, yeah, it's less realistic because it's got stuff like that, but it's not a musical. There's no magic spirits that talk. It kind of pretends
they only show up cryptically in the background in ways that could mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely anything. I think I think having watched the original just before this, I don't think, or just before we recorded, and not before I watched the new one, I think a new one makes a ton of mistakes that you may forgive in a different movie, but having seen the other way you do it, it's like, oh yeah, that's a bizarre choice to have her do that way. Because symbolically, when you make a change like that, kind of usually have to justify it, and it's like, what does that mean in this new context? It doesn't mean anything, or it kind of tells the opposite message. So there's some things where people are saying like, yeah, well, it's more it's like more true to traditional Chinese storytelling or movies or whatever, probably in some ways, but just is in terms of as a remake of this movie, from my perspective, I think it's worse in almost every way.
Can I add one quick thing on like the wuxia stuff?
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't mind it for the most part. I just thought it wasn't so present, so I felt like when it was there, I'm like, oh yeah, this stuff. Like it bounced between that and just like regular like clashing swords and spears and fire and arrows. Like I wish it had gone more in on that instead of the light touch, if that's what it was going for.
Sure,
I'm with you there. Yeah, it did feel very. It felt so. I imagine part of the way the wuxia is supposed to work is the fantastical become, not like believable necessarily, but like because of how fantastical the things that happen in the world are, it's like reasonable within the world of this story, and it doesn't just completely take you by complete shock every time it happens. Like, I really would love to know how things work in this universe. Like, I mean, okay, so my biggest criticism as a change, because I think this is kind of where you have to start, is this movie is Star Wars. And it kind of would work like this if at no point anyone ever explained what the Force is or how it kind of works with other people.
Yeah.
Because you have this Jedi character who is clearly a Jedi, and even when they're describing Chi, which I get is like a concept, they even use the word Force a lot. Did you guys catch that?
I didn't, but for some reason I'm like, oh, so she's a Jedi. Right, like that instantly like popped into my brain.
So like, does the Emperor have Chi as well?
He must, because here's what I don't get. Like, is the wuxia part of like what everyone can do, or can only people with Chi do it?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, can you explain this a little more? I'm confused.
I mean, it seemed to be implied that you had to have Chi to be able to do that, because when Mulan does it, the commander's like, oh, you have Chi, incredible.
Right.
Which is, it would have been interesting to see more people having it because then
Yeah.
it's like you get to draw specific attention to the double standard of like when men have chi, everyone's like, hell yeah, sick, that rules. But when women have chi, you're like, witch.
Hide that shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we say that the witch teaches the men how to do magic, so, like, can she be harnessed and learned? Is it like bending in fucking Avatar, where it's only the elite few? Like,
well, that's why it feels like Force, because it seems like Mulan is just Force sensitive. Like, she has a stronger connection to the chi when she is born than anyone else. But it is also nurtured by her father, who teaches her how to fight, and like that's why she's kind of more adept than you would expect for just someone who has chi. But yeah, it's like it's not that it has to work the same way Star Wars works, but in Star Wars it's like either you have the Force or you don't, and then you kind of build on it from there. But with this, it does seem like it's like you can learn it or you're born with it, and if you're born with it, then you're a superhero, and if you learn it, you're not as good as a superhero, but also you can like do kind of fancy stuff. You climb up walls, but also like it's not a guaranteed win either. Like sometimes the chi is this game breaker. Like, wow, 1 million men can surround one guy with chi, and there's no getting out of that scenario for those 1 million men. But with in other situations, it's like they really don't use it. Like they seem to kind of forget about it.
Right.
Especially when they're doing war, which is when you figure it would really come in handy. But that, I think, is the biggest departure from the original cartoon. I don't believe that's that present in the original poem either. I think she is good at martial arts, perhaps, but I don't, like, I think this witch character and all of the chi stuff is more or less new.
As far as I know.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up one more time. I think, and it's pretty like, and one thing about this movie that really took me off guard, speaking of things about this movie, it starts with narration, and then it drops the narration for a full, 90 minutes, and then the narration comes back a little bit, and then it ends with narration, and the narration is like, the story of Mulan is a story you've heard a lot, and this is my version, it's a little different, but, it's so maybe they're like, oh, well, this is just what this person heard, but whatever. I don't know. Also, they make Mulan movies all the time in China. Like, they made one this year, and it's dope. I watched, some of it. I forget what it's called. It's, the Fallen Mulan or something. And, it makes... If you, like this, because you think the wuxia is cool, that is a complete step up. It's, more bloody, and it seems like it's kind of for, adults. But it's still, fight choreography a million times better. I'm reading the thing now, and I don't think there's any sense for Mulan being superhuman in any way in the original poem. The Ballad of Mulan. It's really just your basic points for the story. Mulan is kind of upset. Dad's got to go to war. Says farewell to my parents in the morning, leaves, family sad, go to Yellow River, family sad again, invaders, ride for a while. I'm legit, I'm almost done. They win the war, and then she goes home and and then she reveals herself to be a girl. She's in the army for 12 years in the poem.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, there's nothing more to it. It's so sparse on details that you do kind of go okay, so there's the story, right? There's the movie that it was based on, if this is a remake, right? And then there's the actual story. So it's if you take something that's not in either of those, that's a real big choice, and I think that's when you gotta justify it a little bit. But it's fine. What did you guys think of... God, I don't even know. Where do we start with this one? So the bad guy. I think it starts with the bad guy, right? Bori Khan. He's doing an invasion. They run up a wall or something, like superhuman kind of Spider-Man.
Like the movie itself?
Yeah, the Mulan movie, the one we watched.
No, I'm saying where does the movie itself start?
Yeah,
I believe it starts with her as a child.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's the
the chicken.
With the chicken.
That scene was weird.
So what do we learn about Mulan?
She's good at chasing chickens.
And she's like a ninja, kinda.
And she's kind of an idiot. Not like an idiot, but she her parents are like, don't chase the chicken up the entire thing because it'll just go back to the little pen, and then it does.
After some chasing, though, we don't know what that chicken would have done had it not been chased.
That's a good point.
It was chased all over creation.
But she doesn't listen to authority, and she's a superhero. And she is like a kind of embarrassment to her family for that reason.
Yeah. And the mom's like, tell your daughter to get your shit together, husband. Let's fucking go.
Well, although, so to be fair, and this is something I thought of while I was watching, it's like, if this reads like any Disney scene, it reads like the scene from Hercules where he knocks over all the columns as a child because he doesn't know his own strength.
Dude, it seriously does, though.
And in that, I'm like, well, it's, and I think in this, there's a little bit of like, you get a little, like, just a whiff of like, oh, so women can't do things that a man can do. Like, that's kind of part of what they're trying to seed in there. But also, it's really like, well, no, she broke the statue. I don't think anybody would have been able to get away with that. Like, it didn't. I don't think it set up that theme the way I think it was trying to, because of how much of a disaster she created for no reason.
Yeah, and like, it seemed like everyone was against Mulan because, like, after all the commotion, everyone's like shaking their head like, fucking Mulan. Like, it seemed that this is a very Mulan-specific problem in the village where she's just, very bad and destroys all the pots, and Jason Alexander gets so mad. So, yeah.
And she lives with her father, her mother, and her sister.
Yep.
So, in the story, I believe she has a brother or something.
In the original story, in the animated movie, she does not have any siblings.
She has a dog who she calls younger brother. But yeah, that's the stand-in for her sibling in the cartoon movie. But in this, she has a sister who's kind of just like her, except better. Like better at being a maiden. I think maybe spending a little bit more time with that character, you could have done something interesting. Maybe kind of.
Yeah, she doesn't really have like a personality or a purpose in the story at all.
Yeah, she's just there for that scene with the spider. Where Mulan does a Spider-Man. And that's it. And then Mulan goes to war, and then the parents are just like, and then the story stops being about anybody at home. So Mulan grows up. While she grows up, Bori Khan does this whole thing, and he goes. I can't remember exactly what happens in this scene because a little bit of kind of the two movies I'm kind of mushing together. The witch is a bird, right? She could transform into a bird.
Yes.
Yeah, I think a falcon. That's
yeah. Mm-hmm. And she has little shurikens made that look like falcon talons,
and her claws her hands are talons, and everything's
it's
talons.
very on brand.
I hated the hands. I didn't mind anything else that she did magically as like a visual thing, but the hands just looked very silly to me. I don't know why. I don't know if either of you got this impression, but the talon claws, because she was like Wolverine. She had regular hands, and then her hands would like transform for extra grip. And it's just like, at that point, just use your hands. I don't know. I'll just assume you have extra strong hands because you do. But so she like flies. If I remember correctly, she flies up to the top of the whatever tower or something.
She like fly. Well, doesn't she pretend to be like a guy? Because like a guy sees her in the desert, and then I don't know if she
like possesses a man or something. It's not clear what she does exactly.
And then she uses that to get inside, and then they attack.
That's right, and then they like siege some city. Forgot about that. So let's go over some witch powers. So like you said, transform into a hawk or a falcon. Falcon probably, right? Because that's like what the bad guy had in the original one.
Yeah, it seems like it.
So transform into falcon. She can also. It seems like not like either transform into people or like body jump into them. And, like, she takes over their body, but still has her own body. But, like, possess, I guess. Or did you think she was, like, killing them and then taking their form?
I thought she was transforming into them.
My impression was she was kind of, like, possessing them, but also, like, I guess their body disappears when she decides to transform back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But either way, she could do that. She could also transform into a lot of bats, which we'll get into. So yeah, she does this body swap thing. She goes up to this city that's got a wall. So it's not like the Great Wall, which is where the original movie starts with the villain. But in this new one, it's just like a wall, and the wall is scaled by the soldiers who are able to just run up walls. So they are semi-magical. They have some chi.
It's a game changer, really. Once you can run up walls, game over, right?
Well, but, like, so it is and isn't. Like, she sneaks into there, right? She sneaks into that compound.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, couldn't she just open the door and they could walk through the door?
Probably.
Yeah, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's she bringing to the table with that if
Well,
they
she
can
taught
also
them
scale
how to
walls?
do that.
Well, sure, that part for sure. But why? Who gives a shit
Why,
about the
why be the
infiltration bit?
infiltrator? Yeah.
Yeah, because for a
'Cause
second
it
I was
looks
like,
cool
oh,
in the movie.
I think that's right, and that's why I think, and we talked about this before, this movie is made by Zack Snyder, because it's all just things that look cool happening, and why is it? Because they look cool. But
To be fair, there would have been way more extremely on the nose Jesus parallels if this was a Zack Snyder movie.
And
That's
murder.
true.
So much more but obvious murder, not like
I
the murder
mean,
where it's like...
There was a lot of murder in this movie for a Disney film.
yeah, there was
you
some
get
murder.
hit. You get hit with an arrow and you fall down. It's not clear if it's murder. You're just stunned.
So Bori Khan takes over. What do we learn about Bori Khan? He works. He was like his dad was in a war or something.
Yeah, his dad worked with the Emperor, but for some reason, like, the Emperor killed his dad.
No, they didn't work. What do you mean they worked? His dad was also a steppe warrior, and the Emperor killed him. What are you talking
It
about?
seems like the dad was an invader as well and lost.
So it's a family business kind of deal.
yeah,
Or,
I
like,
mean, you could take over, I guess, if you want.
being a Khan is like being a king, DJ.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
but then
Yeah.
that's it.
He's like, well, that honestly, that's my one-armed man. I am...
Well, pretty much, yeah. He's like, I
kill
hope
the Emperor.
I kill him. That's
He
what,
killed my dad.
and that's
I
fine.
angry.
Because that's all. What's his name? The bad guy in the original one has.
Oh, he didn't even
He's
have
just
that
like-
much. He was just like, I
Yeah.
want to invade China because I think it's cool.
Yeah, and I think the problem with this guy versus, and I think
I think being evil is good.
being evil is great. See, that's now you're talking my Zack Snyder language. But the idea that like they try to characterize him this way, it's like, okay, fine. You also have the witch, who's like this weird secondary villain who her motives are constantly shifting, which I wouldn't mind, except for it's just kind of weird the way it's played out. But I feel like a lot of the things that I think are so strange that this movie was missing to me were like you watch the first movie and then you watch the second movie, or you watch the original and you watch this one, and when you watch the original you're like, oh yeah, that's what this needed, that scene, or this needed that image to like convey something, like the bit where the original villain, when they scale the Great Wall by just throwing a big, whatever they're called, like grappling hook, and one goes over the wall, and then like a million go over the wall. Like, there's really cool images there that make the villains seem dangerous, and I never got that from these guys.
I don't know. I think those walls, like running up the wall and everything, like the way it's shot and all, I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it. I guess when we get to Mulan, and just because so much of that was like, I was like, oh, so these guys are magic, cool, and then Mulan's magic. I'm like, what's going on with this Mulan? And then it's kind of like, I don't know, it's fine. But yeah, then we get to the actual story. Mulan's going to the matchmaker, you guys. She's not ready for it.
Isn't she though? Like,
Oh
I
yeah, no,
think
she's super prepared. Yeah.
Yeah, like I actually don't put this on her as
This
much
is-
as the matchmaker.
This is something I wanted to bring up, actually,
Okay.
which is, maybe it's just me. I feel like this is a trend in movies lately. I think especially Marvel movies are often guilty of this.
Ooh.
Which is-
being amazing.
Yeah, Ant-Man having an ant.
Ant-Man is one of the worst ones about this, genuinely.
Oh, okay.
Which is that it doesn't want its heroes to be wrong about anything ever. So,
Well-
like, it takes away any way in which anything that goes wrong might be their fault, which can work in a story. But they try to like do it in a traditional, like, this is a story about a hero overcoming their flaws and becoming a better person kind of way. But they took out all the flaws, so it's really just a person who's already a good person continuing to be a good person. And then everything ends exactly where it started, except maybe they get to see their daughter now or something.
Well,
her dad didn't die, but because they said to cripple the war.
I mean, are you talking about Matchmaker scene as your...
And I'm talking about that in terms of Matchmaker scene, because if you compare it to the original, like, yes, there's, like, the cricket hops in to her teacup, and, like, that kind of, like, really sets things off. But, like, a lot of the things that go wrong in the Matchmaker scene are because Mulan is genuinely not prepared and, like, screws up.
Yeah,
like,
she's
with the
too,
ink
like,
and everything.
strong-headed. Yeah.
I don't know. I think you could pretty much say it's the same scene with a couple of like visual gags, but for the most part, the scene is Mulan goes to the matchmaker. There is an incident with an insect and tea, and she fails matchmaking because the matchmaker doesn't even know she has the mustache on before the mustache. Like, she doesn't even know.
I disagree. I actually think that Diggins is right on the nose, where it's this thing where in the original we kind of see how Mulan's a flawed character and where she's at. But in this one, it's like she's a victim of circumstance. Like, the fucking matchmaker knocks over the table. Mulan tries to save everything, but, like, nothing is... Like, Mulan doesn't do Mulan things, right? Like, Diggins, you could argue that when Mulan's a kid, she's not listening. She's chasing the chicken. But all of that has been rectified in the matchmaker scene. She's no longer... kid Mulan who chases chickens. She's a lady or
I guess
a woman, whatever.
The way to think about it for me is like, if the insect didn't show up, how would Mulan have done? In the original, like, maybe she would have passed, but like you see, she's like cheating, the ink thing happens, like, there's clear signs that like she's not that good at this. Whereas in this version, it's like, if the spider didn't show up, she was doing perfectly fine. I don't see how she's bad at this.
I mean, it's tough with this Mulan because her hiding. So, like, it's tough with this Mulan because of the superhero stuff that she has to deal with. That becomes her character flaw, which is she hides her superhero-ness and like suppresses that. Yeah, no, I agree. But like, so it's like she would have still succeeded, but she just didn't like want to. And it's like, because then the question becomes like, what's the internal struggle with Mulan is like, she's not, the person that she sees in the mirror isn't her. And in the movie, it's because she just doesn't like fit in as in the cartoon, it's because she doesn't fit in as a maiden. And it's not necessarily that she's a better general or something. She's just not her thing. In the movie, it's that she is a superhuman whose powers are being suppressed by general society. And it's worse because she's a woman, but it's not like I think the problem with this Mulan is we never get a sense for what she does want besides just
dad not die.
Yeah, which
That's
like the other
whole thing.
Mulan kind of had that too, but she also had not fitting in, and those two, you know, the want and the need kind of coalesced to start the narrative, which like this one just doesn't have that because both of those are external factors, the superhero-ness and the dad thing.
And it can't pick a lane, right? Like in the beginning of the movie, it's Mulan's so awkward and such a nuisance. Why is she such an outcast? And then it turns into like, oh, she needs to like hide her powers, almost like Elsa. It's like there were parts where it's like, oh, she's Elsa because she has to hide her powers. She's Hercules because she also has to hide her powers, but she's awkward and doesn't know how to properly use them. And I feel like it couldn't settle on what it wanted to be. It was just borrowing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it feels a lot like Spider-Man or something like that, or like an X-Men. You know, she's like a persecuted hero because she has to hide her powers from the world. Otherwise, but that's the other thing. She has to hide her powers from the world. Otherwise, what? You know, it's like otherwise she will be treated like a witch. But like, will she? Because the other witch is like an evil bird lady with wears makeup and stuff. Like, it's not like she's, you know, better at catching things than you would be as a non-chi person. It's just like that the whole thing. And I think that's why I think that she kind of not like ruins the movie, but it just complicates the movie in ways that the movie already isn't really faring super well. Whenever it has to deal with that, it just makes it worse.
Yeah, it would have benefited from if it was going to do the chi thing, like getting more into it, how like women who can use chi are seen as witches, and but it's celebrated in men, and so like how it becomes this gift that like defines who she is, but she can only she's only like societally allowed to use it when she is disguised as a man. Like that would have been an interesting conflict and like a way to externalize her internal struggle, but like we don't really get into any of that, so it doesn't really ever feel like that any of that's going on.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much stuff. By the end of the movie, I was legitimately like, are women the only people who are born force sensitive in this universe? Because we get a taste that the Emperor kind of knows how to do some of the force, or the chi. And we get a taste that Bori Khan's army kind of knows how to use it. And even when Donnie Yen's guy is like, you have the chi, a force that flows through all of us. When he's like, you've got that. It's like, he's like, it seems to maybe be like, and I got a little bit. You saw how I did that thing with the swords earlier. But it's even and it's not even anything. Like it's not more athletic ability, or you can turn things into other things. You can transfer into birds. It's just whatever. Sometimes it's extra strength. Sometimes it's like I said, the ability to teleport. But that's just because the movie's bad. And sometimes the other really weird thing about this movie is every time Mulan solves a problem, it's not a chi solution. So, like, besides the witch being the witch and having that Green Goblin chat with Mulan, there's very few things she does that affect the big picture of the movie where I'm like, oh, good thing she had the chi for that. Like,
yeah,
both of her big victories are not, like, chi-free, but, you know, she doesn't turn into a bird during any of them.
It's also strange because it seems like the chi doesn't matter until she gets the call to adventure. Like, it's not like she's going through her life and everything's impossible because she has chi powers, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem to be hindering her day to day. Like, because her dad was like, when she's a kid, you have to suppress your chi. And then she said, okay. And she did it. Like,
and then
no
she was
problem.
Elsa.
Yeah,
well,
it
but
feels
even
kind
Elsa,
of
like,
there's somebody else.
Oh, man.
I'm trying to think of the other character in fiction that this is so close to.
What if instead of the dumb Game of Thrones wing shot, she actually turned into a phoenix in the final battle?
I was kind of expecting it, honestly.
Oh, my God.
There were a couple things that the movie like almost did, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense why the Phoenix is here. And then it didn't do them right at the last minute. It was pretty weird.
Was that Phoenix real, or only was she seeing it?
Who knows, man?
I couldn't tell. By the end, I was convinced only she was seeing it because no one was like, oh my God, a mythical bird.
Well, do you know where the myth of the Phoenix comes from?
I don't.
X-Men.
Yep, that's it.
Space. It's a space force.
Yep. No, you nailed it.
Yeah. No, where does the myth of the Phoenix come from?
Well, it is theorized, because we can't really say for sure, but it is theorized that it comes from people seeing peacocks in flight.
Oh, that makes sense.
Ah.
Like Ho-Oh, the Pokemon at the end of the Pokemon intro. Where
honestly,
you're like, why is that Pokemon all gold? And it's not in in like when you get it, and it's like, I guess they just thought it looked like that.
So it could have just been she kept seeing peacocks.
The peacocks were like, hey, camp is that way. And she was like, thanks, peacock. I wouldn't have gotten there quite on time without you.
The peacock was going to the big collection of food to steal some.
That makes sense. Peacocks are assholes, by the way. Don't like those birds. But okay. So, what's left? Oh, right. So then the movie actually starts. So Bori Khan, he's doing his thing. He's bad as can be. The Emperor is like, get me all the one man from every household in China.
Get me all the warriors.
Yeah.
I want them all. Even the old men, I want them to fight.
Yeah.
Get the old men.
Unless they're
You'd
bad,
think
then
we'd
I
have come
send
up with
them
a better
home.
conscription system than this, but we haven't. So all the warriors.
So I have a question. In a more, I don't know, quote unquote realistic scenario, he allegedly fought in the army before, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So isn't it more likely if he did get a conscription notice, he would have either been like either an officer or, short of that, a fucking cook?
That's what I was saying.
They're not gonna throw. They're not going to throw a sword in his hand and be like, all right, go get him, chief.
I really doubt they would have made this old man with a busted leg an infantryman. But
yeah.
then again,
no
I mean,
way.
like, listen, old time armies, like, they didn't give a shit. You know what? Infantry's not there to like fight. Infantry is there to, like, get slaughtered mercilessly so the cavalry can do the real job.
Well, then that's my thing is, like, I figure he'd be on the cavalry, right? He'd ride a horse, he'd get his sword, and he'd cut guys' head off. Like, he'd be right about where everybody else is. He just has a bum leg. Like, he can, there's no reason to assume he's not still going to be kind of sweet. But also, yeah, like, I figure he'd be like, listen, if you put me on the field, I'm going to trip immediately, and everybody's going to trip over me, and it's going to be worse. So let me stay home. I'll fold all the clothes or something. I don't know.
Or cook.
Or,
like,
yeah.
God. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I get what you're saying, Diggins. Like, it was like lambs to the slaughter, but from a tactical perspective, like, you only have so much armor. You only have so many swords. Like, you need guys to cook.
And they like him.
DJ, we don't give them armor and swords. They have to bring those.
Yeah.
You think I'm made out of armor and swords?
So everyone is
yeah, what Nando said. They like him. He's a friend.
They like him, so it seems like he could be like, all right, guys, you trust me, Donnie Yen. Let me go. I'll just call shots from the back, like with you. Unless you want to go right in, that's great. I'll just do something else. I don't know. But anyway, he gets conscripted. He tries to walk. He can't, just like in the old one. But he still becomes he like trips, right?
Yeah,
like he
eats
falls down. In the original, he just walks, and he's like kind of weak, like, and he's like, "I'll do my best." But it's clear he's not going to do great. But yeah, I just feel like the army guy handing out conscriptions would be like, never mind. You said you were going to take your father's place. Your father is also conscribed, first guy.
Yeah, right.
You guys are together. I don't remember if that happens in which one. But then Mulan, in the dead of night, what does she do?
Sorry, can I just say like one real quick thing?
Oh, yeah.
To go along with what Diggins was saying, that character has no flaws. In the original Mulan, right, she's like, no, he's old, don't. And the guy with the tallest hat's like, get this bitch in line. And in this movie, she, I mean, more or less, right?
Whoa, okay.
I mean, tonally, he's not respectful, so sure.
And in this movie, Mulan just sits there. It's like, sucks. Like she says something to the mom, but the mom's like, let your father be honorable. But like, she does the good daughter thing. That's it. So I don't know. Not sure how I should feel about this Mulan, who I guess is perfect. She only breaks the rules when it's like classy to break the rules.
Yeah, I mean, she's like she's very headstrong, kind of, but like in short bursts.
Yeah,
not like the original Mulan, where but like that's the thing is, instead of her being headstrong, she has so much chi, she can beat up anybody. That's her big
coming
problem.
Out the ears.
Yeah. So then she's like, Dad, I can't let you go to war. I'm gonna go to war. She doesn't say that, but that's what she does.
Yeah.
In the original movie, this is a whole big thing. She cuts her hair all cool, and
she wipes off her makeup with one sleeve.
Yeah,
in one smooth motion.
Yep. Two smooth motions. First half of face, then second half of face. It's very like, I don't know. And that's the thing. Like the old Mulan has a lot of like symbolism that's really on the nose, but still, it's like it is something. Yeah. Whereas this movie just skips all that to do nothing.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
like the dad makes a metaphor about a flower, and that comes back later, and you're like, that's like we've gone full circle.
Yeah,
and that doesn't happen in this one.
Yeah,
well, he says Phoenix. You are Phoenix. I'm Phoenix. We all Phoenix.
We are Phoenix, which means you die and are reborn. And I guess that's sort of what happens in the middle of the movie.
Yeah,
but like, that's the middle of the movie. So like, what's the rest of the movie about?
Yeah.
And then she goes to war. But like I said, she gets lost, and then the Phoenix tells her where to go. I don't understand what that scene was for at all.
Yeah, right. Why can't she just make it to war? Why did she get lost?
I kind of like that. I mean, I hate whenever people say this for movies, but it's like, what if she died there and she never went to war, and this was all just a fantasy playing out in her head? Like, I love the idea that's like, everybody gets home from war, and her dad's like, Mulan or someone else that had my notice, my son, did my son win the war? And they're like, you had a son that showed up? No, you didn't. Your son didn't show up. You're in jail because you skipped, and we found your daughter like a mile from here, all dead. Yeah, and she stole all of your stuff. So I don't know, man. Your family's in as bad of a spot as possible. Because, yeah, it was a really weird scene that I don't care for. But then she goes to war. I think the thing about... So, Mushu.
Yeah.
I understand what the problem with Mushu is culturally. And Eddie Murphy's Mushu specifically. And why people don't like him. The nice thing about Mushu in the cartoon is he provides this nice little breath to kind of slow down between scenes where plot is, like, happening and go, like, okay, what are we doing? Why is this going to be challenging for me? What's your, what are your thoughts about this? But because we don't have that Mushu, we just go from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene. And this is where I think the pacing kind of falls apart. It's not that it doesn't let up, because it doesn't. Obviously, it keeps going. But I feel like we just never get a chance to breathe during this training stuff. And it's bad because of it. Except for during the flirting, which I hate. Not hate, but I don't, it's weird.
There's also no flow. Like, they go from, like, bad to okay to bad to good. Like, it doesn't have a natural, like, oh, we're getting progression. It's like, oh, my God, he hit an arrow. He hit a dummy with an arrow. But, oh, they can't make it up the hill. It was like... And I get that that's probably more realistic. Like, progress is not always a straight line upwards. But in your very confusing movie, just could it be, please? Could we show some progression with the thing?
I mean, like, I'll Make a Man Out of You is, like, the platonic ideal of the training montage.
Yeah. It's perfect.
So it's like...
why you do these.
It's like... Is it a lot to ask to be, like, say, like, your training montage should be perfect? Yeah. But if you're doing a remake of a movie where the training montage is, like, utterly iconic and perfect, you should probably have a good training montage.
Also, most of the singing in I'll Make a Man Out of You is, like, non-diegetic. Like, what's his name? Shang, I think, the hunky trainer, sings the first couple of lines, but the rest is more or less sung off screen. So there's the musical, like most of the other songs that are a musical are sung like a musical, but like you could more or less keep the montage as is and just have the song without words play in the background and just do a montage. Like, it's Rocky doesn't have words in its song and it still did a montage. Like, it didn't have words in Gonna Fly Now, the first one, which it has words, but it's not like a song. So like you could totally get away with doing that again. And then, instead of focusing on all the training, you get to focus on all the character stuff instead, which is how Mulan kind of makes the economy of that middle bit, like the, 2A, Act 2A of the movie so, like, functional.
Right, because it's like the army training, it's Mulan's personal growth, it's her becoming friends with, like, the 3 soldier dudes.
Yep.
It's like so much is happening in those like 4 minutes. It's really good.
Yeah. And then you get scenes that are fun every so often, like kind of like, oh, we're all going to go, swimming around. It's like a silly scene. You got some silly Mushu stuff going on in the middle, which like this movie, I remember there were reviews for Tenet that came out kind of recently that called it like a humorless tome or something. Like it was just like, oh, man. And people are like, you expect humor in your Christopher Nolan movies? And first of all, yes, Christopher Nolan movies used to be very funny. Not like laugh out loud, laugh riot, but they were very sarcastic and witty. And if they got rid of that, it's kind of a bummer. But, like, balance is nice. And this movie is just, and I say this a lot because a lot of movies are like this, but more than a lot of other movies that I've seen in a while, it's just joyless. There's no fun or, like, smiling or anything like that in this movie for anyone. There's a little bit of humor that's attempted with, like, a man cuddling a man. But besides that, it's so on the nose and just like, ugh, why are you... I'm not enjoying this. Why are you... Like, you're not enjoying this. And it's not done well otherwise. So, like, there's no... I don't know. It's just so... And Mulan is such a fun movie. Like, in ways that are not just, like, the characters, not like Eddie Murphy riffs. But also it's just like, look at that guy trying to do physical comedy. There's a lot of great physical comedy in the original Mulan. There's none of here. And, like, it's a good way to balance out all the serious stuff. Like in the bit at the end of the like when they actually go to war, there's that fun shift at the end of the song, which like this movie doesn't have, obviously, but also it just doesn't. You can't shift tonally in this movie because there's one tone and it's boring. What else is fun about Mulan? What else happens in the trading montage that we don't get in this? Or what else happens in this that we don't get in the original?
So this is fun. They're going through, like, the possible penalties for crimes. And it's like, if you steal, we kill you. If... I can't remember all of the
Desertion.
ones. Desertion,
death.
right. Death.
I think there's one more that's death.
Yeah. But then they say, what was it? Dishonesty, right? If you're dishonorable, expulsion. And we tell your village, we tell your parents, and we just tell
dishonor
everyone...
on you, dishonor on
Dishonor
your
on
cow.
your cow. Yeah, exactly.
It felt like that was supposed to be a comedy beat where everyone's expecting him to say death again. And he says expulsion, and then everyone's like, oh, okay, well, you...
Right. It's like Mulan, go home. You can leave today. You get expelled, but like I think that's the best case scenario here.
Yeah. Your dad won't rescue you because he's worried you'll die. If that's the weirdest part. He's like, if I expose her, our people will kill her. And it's like, will they? That's not clear from the rules that were said.
Maybe that's like a thing they changed in the last couple of years of war since he's been around. They were like, you know what? They're all really dishonest, and when we kill them all, we don't have any soldiers left. So we're going to have to make that penalty a little less harsh. Or it's the opposite where it's like, listen, we don't have enough time to kill all the dishonest people, so just make them pack up their stuff and go because we're just wasting time with executions.
We'll send a memo that said they were bad, and that's it.
Like,
maybe
and
they'll be
also,
less
like,
bad.
what counts as dishonesty? If like my friend asks me how I'm doing, and like I got a lot going on, but I don't feel like getting into it, so I say I'm fine, and then later he finds out that I wasn't fine. Like, do I get expelled for that? Like, what?
And
I need some clearer parameters here.
Well, and the fun thing about, not the fun thing, but the interesting thing about original Mulan is the punishment for dishonesty is death. It's assumed. Yeah. So when she gets found out, it's like, she's dead because she broke the rules. And even Shang, even whatever his name is, the like stuffy nerd is like, kill her. You know what it is. And he's like, no, but just because of now. But she did a good thing, so it offset the penalty. But like with this, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like, and it almost seems like the stakes are a little bit lower. Like every stake gets lowered a little bit. So also later, when she has to convince everyone to go fight, whatever his name is, the bad guy, they're all like, instead of being like, we don't completely trust you, so no, but you could convince us later. They're all like, oh, fine. I guess we have to. It would be weird if we didn't. Yeah, what else? There's a lot of flirting between her and Hunky Soldier now, not Hunky Commander.
So stupid.
Yeah, it's... So there's two ways to do a romance in this sort of... In a Mulan-style movie, where you have a woman pretending to be a man. To do a hetero romance, that is. Obviously, there are many ways to do non-hetero romance in such a situation.
Yeah. The mouse will come down on you with the hammer if you try to make your main character non-hetero, so we'll just take that as an assumption.
Right. There's the way to do it where it's like there's a mutual respect and admiration, and then the male character finds out, and he's like, all those things I respected and admired were in a woman, and maybe that means And then there's a way to do it, and that's how it is in the original movie, where it doesn't feel like a romance until he finds out, but it makes sense as flowing from their relationship as established before he found out. And then there's the way to do it in this movie, where it totally seems like this man is learning new things about himself.
Yeah, I think...
Like, it feels like he should be disappointed when he finds out. He's like, oh.
I would say not even learning new things about himself. Like, it seems like that may have been him the whole time. Like, I mean, we spend no time with this character, and we never get a sense for... Like, he's also, speaking of, like, you know, the difference between Hunky Commander and Hunky Soldier, like, in the original Mulan, he's a real jerk, and then he kind of, you know, gains a respect for Ping or Mulan, and that's like a whole arc. Whereas in this one, they punch up a bit with their swords in the very, very beginning. And then she's like kind of mean to him. Like she gives him the cold shoulder a couple times. But beyond that, he's more or less nice. And nice the whole time until the end when they are in love. Like, and I will say, it's kind of funny in the original Mulan. And if there was something I was going to cut from this one, it would be him in any love interest whatsoever. Because in the original Mulan, like they have her and the captain have a respect for each other. But then when you get to the end of the movie, it's almost like all right, I trust you, and I have we are equals. And isn't that a good progressive thing for us to do in whatever 10th century China or whatever? And then the emperor's like, by the way, that's a woman. You can marry that. And he's like, wait a second, what? That changes everything. And it's almost like, just get rid of that guy. You don't need him. There's too much going on with your witches anyway. We don't have time to develop a love interest. Like,
it's like if you're going to separate the love interest character from the commander character, then just don't have the love interest character.
Because then, if we get rid of him, we get more Donnie Yen instead. And he's the guy that she butts heads with, and he's just fun to watch in general. He's the guy who's
like, Mulan, do you want to marry my daughter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was interesting. I forgot about that. And he is also, like, kind of like a partial Jedi in this, too, where he's like, I understand you kind of have the Chi Force, and you should use it. Like, there's no one else in this army, to our knowledge, utilizing Chi offensively. Correct?
It doesn't seem like it. No one else is kicking arrows like that.
They got to get their shit together then. They find this one person who is a superhuman among them, and they're like, yeah, you should be confident in yourself and comfortable in your own skin. Go use your superpowers. Not like, all right, we are completely changing the strategy. It is organized around Ping or Mulan or whatever they call her in this. Because she, I think that's right. Yeah. Because she is he is the superhuman, and that seems to kind of be the whole game plan here.
All right, the tactics have changed. Everyone who's not June, your job now is protect June. June, your job is now win the war.
But no, it's like it almost is like this person turned out to be good at, like, I don't know. They're like good at hacky sack, and everybody and they find out, and the emperor's or the Donnie Yen's like, oh, that's cool. You should do that more often. Everybody will like that. And he's like, you sure? I'm like, oh yeah. We won't come out of you. Don't worry. And then she does. That's cool. Also, I wouldn't say symbolically. I mean, there's so many symbols that get thrown out the window and replaced with nothing in this movie. The pole is the big one, right?
Yeah.
That's like the big loser, I would say, in Act 2 at least, is the dual, whatever. I forget what they are, and I just watched this movie, but like the two weights of determination and patience or something.
Right. Yeah, instead in this one, they got to walk up a mountain holding 2 buckets of water. But it's like, there's steps. Like, they just got to walk up the steps carrying something heavy.
Well,
there's not like a trick to it.
Well, you know what's bananas is like, it's dumb because the Donnie Yen is like, with strength and determination can you carry both buckets of water up the hill and make it to the mountain. Only the strongest can get to the summit. And it's like, it's not like, oh, Mulan can get up there because she's strong and you can't judge a book by its cover, yada yada yada. It's like, no, she's magic. If she did not have the chi, she would not be able to make it up there. So hey, only the Jedi can get up there. Everyone else, fuck off.
Yeah, and it comes at no personal sacrifice or something. She doesn't.
It's not
have
her
to
wit. She
doesn't
find it. She doesn't find a shortcut. Like, hey guys, do you see there's like an elevator over here? Like, just nothing.
Or like he said, take the buckets up. He never said anything about the water. Like, at some point you'd figure there was going to be something like that. And I mean, someone already got fired from Army because of that. But like some version of that.
Or hey guys, I can teleport. How about that one?
Yeah, right. It's up a mountain. That's exactly what I like. This is something that will be helpful for me.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it's like the movie doesn't want Mulan to be bad at anything, because like in the original, like a big part of this whole montage is that Mulan and everyone else is very bad at war.
Yeah,
they don't know how to do it, and so we have the montage to show them getting better at war, because that's what a montage is for. But Mulan was good at war the whole time. And it's
Yeah,
just
she's so
eventually
good at war.
Donnie Yen is like, Mulan, stop pretending you're not good at war. And Mulan's like, okay. And then she's good at war.
Well, and like the way that it kind of plays out in the montage too, that's interesting. And the phrase "good at war" is a pretty solid way to kind of piece the two apart. Is it's like you got the 5 main characters that are in the 6, I want to say, if you count like Poindexter, and I guess 7 if you count Mushu. But the 5 main human characters, which are Mulan, the 3 buddies, and Hunky Commander. So, like in that training montage, it's not just Mulan, so everybody has something that they kind of bring to the table a little bit. Like it's like, oh, the big fat one's not good at being dainty and jumping over little sticks, and the other one can't break a big stone rock with his head, and Mulan can't climb up the pole. So like they all have different growth, but it really is like everybody else is okay. And then Mulan, who has all of the skills and then like decides to, use them. But yeah, it's not even like, and this is something that I think maybe they could have honestly learned from superhero movies, is maybe pick one skill. She can jump higher, or she's super strong, or something like that, but not everything, because she has everything. And it really is just like she is good at war and everyone else is still fine. And also, yeah, like the bucket thing is weird because, yeah, I get she has like acrobatics, which is at that point in the story, that's kind of all of her powers. But then she gets like enhanced strength with the bucket thing. It has nothing to do with acrobatics. So it's like, yeah, pick a lane. Also, like, can no one do that? Has anyone ever done that? The bucket thing?
Mean, they must have, right?
Maybe the
You'd
commander,
assume.
because he has chi. He probably, when he was a young lad.
Right? And it's not even like it's used to test people for chi, because if that's what it is, it also doesn't work. They figure it out in another way. It's just a thing that they have to do. Yeah, I don't know. I hate it. I really didn't like that. Also, sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought one of you guys.
No, not me. No.
Okay, how about the 3 friends who are split up into like 6 different guys with no personality?
Oh my god!
I think it is still 3 dudes. It's just
but one of them's the cricket.
I
one of
think
them's
there's
cricket.
4, and the new friend.
Well, yeah, I'm talking besides the love interest man. I think there's 3.
Really?
I think there's cricket. There's the guy with the beard, who I think is supposed to be Harvey Fierstein.
I still can't not laugh at the fact that he shows up in the cartoon.
And then there's third guy. And that's all I've got for him.
Well, because which one is the one that gets the big guy's line in the song when they say it?
I want a woman who can cook.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I think there are 3 guys plus cricket. I think there's 6. We have a core of 6. It doesn't matter because that's how pointless they all are. Is we can't even remember which ones are which. But yeah, they have no characters either. They just are around and like they kind of pick on Mulan a little bit, but then they still do. I don't think they ever gain a respect for each other or anything like that, which is boring.
Well, they get kind of the like, ribbon on each other kind of friendship is how it's supposed to read to us.
Yeah.
Where they're all like, you're a guy, you're a piece of shit, and everyone's like,
Fucking
you know what I mean?
Am I right?
I don't know, man. So Mulan's talking about, like, I want a woman who's courageous and smart. And they laugh her out of the room like she's Sam Tarley suggesting democracy. Like, they are like, you are a dumbass.
But
a little more than just the ribbon.
And even later when they're like, I'm not scared to die in the war tomorrow. And then I think Mulan, is she the one that's like, don't be scared, it's fine. Or be scared, whatever. She, like, tries to kind of be the voice of reason, and I still don't think they're quite on board with Mulan.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, that relationship, and who cares, because there's so much else going on in the movie that it doesn't matter. But
I personally like how the bonding moment while she's, like, trying to take a bath that she has with love interest man is him being like, hey, listen, you and I both know that the rest of these chuckle fucks are, like, brain dead idiots. So you and I got to make sure that none of them die.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
That part is fun. I mean, we didn't do a montage, so they're not good. It's mostly been you. We got you up to we leveled you up to 100, and those guys are all sitting in the low teens. So we really need you to win this war for us, Mulan, or whatever we're calling you. Doesn't matter. It's Mulan. You're Mulan. I get it. Also, nobody from her village went to war. Nobody recognizes her. It didn't really bother me in the original because I don't know why it didn't bother me in the original, but I don't know. For some reason, it bothers me more here.
Well, at least she cuts her goddamn hair in the original.
Yeah, that's what it is.
This one, she just puts it up, and when she takes it down, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Shut up.
I don't know if it's just the movie doing, the cartoon, doing a better job of making Mulan look like a member of the guy group, except slightly more feminine, feature-wise. But, I never, and, it's like Superman glasses, but I never bought her as anything but, a 16-year-old theater student with dirt on their face to show that they are old, as her disguise. But yeah.
So I will say in the animated movie, she is drawn differently.
Yeah.
It's mostly the chin. She has a very narrow, pointy, dainty chin when she's a woman, quote unquote. But when she's a man, she's got a round, fat chin. So there is a distinct artist we're gonna really sell this, but to your point, in this movie it's she barely deepens her voice.
With the posture and the voice in the movie, it does also, you kind of get the sense that this feels like a new character, whereas in this movie it didn't feel like that. And I don't think that helps the movie. It makes it worse. By the way, something, I feel while this is going on, the witch is up to something. I honestly can't remember what she's feel having meetings without her or something. There's a scene that.
They're going,
He's having a meeting with the other, tribe leaders, and they're oh, you're teaming up with a witch, Boricon. That sucks. And he's the witch is cool, and she listens to me, which means she listens to you guys, so just fucking chill.
Hey guys, remember how you ran up a fucking wall? Why don't you count your fucking blessings, you turds?
Yeah, right?
Well, to be fair, I think those were his soldiers, and these are, the other chiefs. And him being I'm uniting the clans to take down China.
All right, well, regardless, you saw how my guys run up walls? Come on. Don't be a douche.
My favorite part of that is later, she's because of what he said in there, she's so I'm the slave who has to listen to you, huh? And I kind of expected him to be no, that's just what I tell the chiefs, baby. You know how it is with us. But he's yeah, that's right. Deal with it. How you think this one's gonna end, buddy?
Yeah, he's all over the place, man. I mean, so is she, and they just don't know what's going on. Not they don't know what's going on, but there's no, I think the bad guys are insanely underwritten in this for being overwritten, because they have way more, nuance, but also there's no guiding new principle that they are following, besides just they both kind of still want to be in charge at the end. But, adding two different characters, splitting the one bad guy into two bad guys is an insane move if they both fight with each other, and it still doesn't make very much sense.
Now, what if instead you made it seem like there were two bad guys, but in the end, it turned out that Boricon was really just a disguise of the witches, and she'd been in charge the whole time.
See, I would have loved that. The whole, you're listening to a woman. Didn't you think you could... Yeah, that would have been good.
Plus, then, it's a parallel to Mulan.
Right. I think,
it provides some sort of theme or something.
A what, Diggins? What was that word?
A theme?
Sure.
Well, the problem...
I think I've heard of those.
The problem there is, they don't seem to get, it's I don't know. What do they want? What's once they get past the level where it's just we're working together and they have this argument, I feel then the witch kind of starts turning a little bit against him. When does she get a sense that Mulan's part of it?
Probably part of what?
Part of the whole thing, that a Mulan might show up. Does she know there's another chi sensitive person around?
I don't think she knows until they have the fight.
Okay.
Because she shows up to her after the battle,
well, kind of mid-battle, but yeah.
No, but I mean, it makes sense to me that she realizes then, because I feel like she would have approached her sooner if she figured it out sooner.
That makes sense. Which even speaks even more to how rare she is, like, and how weird it is that she has chi and how nobody cares.
Also, if I were Mulan, my first question would have been like, so if I get good enough at chi, can I turn into 1,000 birds?
Yeah, right. Like what's the limit on this? What's the upper range? Can I like turn invisible?
And can I like possess people? Because then it's like, I don't think I'll ever have problems again. I think my main problem is that I have all these powers, but I admit, I mean, my main problem is that I have all these powers, even though that's not a problem. But it's like, I'm a woman, so I can't get what I want, whatever that is. But it's like, well, now you can possess men, and then you can just be a man or whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, the witch is like, wow, what if I had done a thing like that? And that had been like a dark parallel to your path, where I, just insert myself into the existing power structure instead of trying to confront it and change things. And then, that could be one of those themes I've heard so much about. And Mulan's like, that's an interesting idea, but we're doing something different here, so.
Yeah, we're literally going to have a narration say that I was died and then reborn. How about that?
Like a phoenix. Do you get it?
Diggins, there's a flaw. She didn't realize how cool she was. So that's like a flaw in her character.
Just like Ant-Man. She didn't realize that she was cool enough to have everything she wanted.
Also, in the chat, I want to say, did you guys saw the thing? Yeah, Michelle put and her jawline gets a lot more like defined.
Yeah, that jawline difference is crazy between in the animated one. What's interesting is, do you think there would have been a way, or if this would have been like way too dumb for like this movie, the live action, to like do makeup for when she's like a guy, she has a different jawline, or would that have just been like way too on the nose?
I mean, there are ways to like change the definition of your face through makeup, although I don't know how well they stand up to like HD filmmaking in multiple angles.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the way you would I think the way you could justify it, and they don't really do it too much in here. I don't know how much this lines up one-to-one with like the culture, but like just have her always be wearing makeup. And then she takes it off, and she just looks different, like, because that's how they, women are usually dressed. And then it's like, oh yeah, no, she's just got, kind of not like masculine features, but just plain. And then when that kind of looks like everybody else. But that's not quite what they went for, which is that part is fine. It's just like, I don't know, it doesn't do as good of a job as the first one does of selling that, but it also doesn't care because we already got to get to war. And we go to war. Guys, war's not great.
No, we're getting, China's getting fucked in this war. They are getting wrecked.
I mean, the other team has a witch.
Yeah, let's be fair here.
Yeah,
she can fly into the place before everyone walks over the walls and kills the rest of the people, and she can kill, 10 extra people. So, pretty good.
Or she could turn into 1,000 birds and keep the entire army busy while we shoot them with trebuchets.
Yeah, that part was weird,
my God.
Man.
Why were they using siege weaponry on, guys? Did the chi give them amazing aim assist?
Clearly not later, kind of. But yes, let's talk about... So let's go through... First of all, they don't have that bit. I mean, they kind of have that bit where they discover the destroyed, thing. The destroyed city, which is the best part of the movie. But then they move on to the bit where they actually do a battle, which in the original Mulan cartoon, they show up, it's all snowy, and they're in snowy mountains, and then, oh my God, it's the bad guy, whatever his name is, and then there's just a billion dudes show up on the horizon, and they are pretty much uh-oh, I guess we're going to get killed by these guys. How does that play out in this? TJ, do you want to describe it, or Diggins, either one?
So, basically, this is more of we're lining up for traditional war. Wait, don't they say we're gonna go on the attack because what was it, whoever moves second is not in control? I couldn't.
Something like that.
I didn't fully get the logic, but I was like, whatever, guys.
Well, it's just you want to fight the enemy on your own terms, so by deciding when you fight them, you set the I mean, it's not a great strategy considering, that's probably why they have siege weapons, is they just expected this to be a siege. But and they don't know this, but that's what these guys are great at. Obviously, they're going to be great at this next thing too, but
Well,
like
then again, they
if
also
Donnie Yen was
decide, to fight the horse warriors, we're going to go on a wide open plain where their cavalry charges will be the most devastating.
yeah.
Like,
that's the weird part. It did feel like that. They're like, all right, well, we're going to fight them in the open battlefield. Even though for us, since we're being invaded, a defensive posture would probably be most strategically sound. But whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's like traditional war, right? It's
they're
like
right by the mountains. You can go to a much hillier, more mountainous, like a battlefield where cavalry is much less useful, and that's the place where you fight horse warriors, where horses are not that useful.
Right, and it's not even like it's not like it's some. I'm trying to think of like Game of Thrones scenarios when it's like they have to protect the village. Because where they are seems to just be the training grounds. So it's like either we do this here where we're already and we are to defend people, or we do it on the outside before they get here because this is where they're going. But it seems like it's like, well, if we ambush them from somewhere else or something, like the mountains, we kind of get to pick where we fight them. So we should be able to pick a good spot. But no, yeah, they just meet them in the middle of the field. And Bori Khan's like, oh, bold move. I didn't expect it, but we're still, like, we seem to have practiced for this anyway. So let's get in Formation 2 instead of Formation 1.
Yeah, you guys are fucked. It was very like Civil War, like, not Avengers, like the American Civil War, where it's like Confederates and Union Army line up and fucking savage each other. So there's one, they decide, I forget exactly why, but like Mulan is in charge of a vanguard that has to chase the bad guys because they're trying to flee.
Well, so like the bad guys all line up. First there's one bad guy, and then the sand people walk in lines to hide their numbers. They like fan out into 7 or 8 bad guys, and then those guys start charging in. And then, almost like they saw the cartoon and were like, almost that, 100 guys maybe behind them show up, and then they are the second wave. And it's unclear. It seems like that first group of like 8 guys is like maybe 10 feet ahead of the second wave. But then as the second wave, which kind of in this moment I was like, oh, is the bad guy going to like, is this Bori Khan's plan to kill all the other lords like of guys, the other villains? But you know, by like kind of sacrificing them, because right as it seems like they would all be about to fight, Bori Khan's team the team of 7 or 8 guys just pulls off and just goes to, I don't know, do its own thing. And then Mulan is like, uh-oh, it's a trap. So like she follows him, right? Something like that.
Her and a few other dudes. Well, the commander tells them to chase him because.
But why? Like,
because he's the enemy commander. You kill Bori Khan, then it's over.
But also, does he tell Mulan to, or does Mulan just do it on her own?
No,
he says left flank after them or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just seems like a coincidence that Mulan was part of the team that was going to go chase Bori Khan.
Right.
So, you know, have at it, I guess. And like, yeah, I get that you want to chase the bad guy, but I don't know, man. Like, it doesn't. Like, if they're gonna run, it's like, again, we're in the defensive posture. Let them run. Nothing about our attack plan should be aggressive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And also, like, I think you could maybe get away with it if you made Donnie Yen's character kind of a hothead or something.
Yeah.
But they don't do that either.
Because that's the thing with Zhang in the first one, right? Is that he's like, I gotta avenge my father. This guy killed my father. I'm gonna fucking go after him and prove I'm great. You know, even if it's not the best idea. But
yeah,
none of that here.
No, yeah, it's just like we're gonna. It's just weird. So they go. So they go to. She chases these guys, and there's like a big moment where the guys turn out to also have arrows, and then the guys that Mulan and friends are chasing all just get gotten by these arrows.
Yeah, it's weird. Nando. They are able to, I guess, use their chi to do a cool flip and ride backwards on their horse and shoot arrows while riding backwards on their horse. And that is not something that you don't think when you're chasing someone on horseback that they're going to be able to turn around and shoot you with arrows. They are not ready for that scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the Warriors of the Steppes, they're like the main thing that they were really good at. that like made them such formidable warriors was archery on horseback. So I mean that tracks.
Breakdancing archery on
But
horseback.
backwards? Yeah, but like backwards?
I don't know, maybe. I'm not that familiar.
I mean, I've seen like other people do this in movies. They can usually just turn their body like
Yeah, you
around.
don't have to do a somersault on the side of your horse.
I mean,
and then...
they added some cool flips to it, but otherwise...
Yeah. But yeah, it seems like this is something that no one has ever considered.
Yeah.
Because of how surprised, like how much this takes Mulan's whole team off guard. They all get killed. And then I think this is when Mulan meets the witch.
Yes, because she's doing the chase, and then they wind up in. And guys, if I'm like dumb, I'm sorry, but I legitimately
Apology
did
accepted.
not. I legitimately did not know what they were fighting on top of. I had no like where they were, like when it was like a lake that was cracking or whatever.
I think it was supposed to be some kind of frozen lake.
Yeah.
guess.
Why was it green? And why was there gas? And why did it look
'Cause
like
of the algae.
Green tar pits? Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know.
it was confusing, right? I'm not like crazy.
I mean, it was weird. The whole thing, the whole like geography of that fight was a little like overly complicated. Where like in the original, they're just in snowy mountains, and everything that happens is like the avalanche kind of fits with. Like, really, all you need to get away with in this scene is the avalanche. Like, that's the big moment that should dictate the setting. So, like, yeah, why aren't we just in the snow and an icy, I mean, the ice part doesn't matter, but, like, why aren't we just in the snow? Why do we have to be on, like, the regular... I don't know. That part was weird.
I mean, I thought it looked cool, but, like, thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know what this is supposed to be, really.
Yeah. And then they have the fight, and then the witch... What's her deal during... What is she trying to accomplish during this fight?
Well, it seems like she can tell that Mulan's a woman.
Yes, for sure.
Because she's like, who are you? And she says, I'm Junhua. She's like, then you'll die a liar.
Yes.
Which, let's be fair, badass thing to say.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Does the witch think she killed Mulan?
Good question.
I think so.
So, like, that's
Check
weird.
for a pulse. Double tap.
Yeah, what happened to
something.
claw hands, man? I don't know. But, I mean, I guess she is shot, like, stabbed by the witch with the shuriken thing. But then it
Which
turns
she,
out...
like, throws and it sends Mulan flying, like, 10
Yeah.
feet
Yeah.
backwards. Like, how
That I'm
hard did
fine
she
with.
throw it?
But...
I mean, yeah, it's fine. It's just funny.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, but she's so sweet. But then Mulan, she's like, you're a liar. You're lying to everyone because you're secretly a woman. And then Mulan is saved by the corset thingy.
It's a binder.
Right. But so like the villain knew Mulan was secretly a woman.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that Mulan was using to secretly be a woman saves her from the villain.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like in that moment, the villain shouldn't have known that, you know?
I don't know.
But then
I don't know what to
also,
tell you.
the
I
message,
get what you're saying.
the message of that scene is also kind of screwy.
Yes, I wanted to get into this.
So it's both of those problems are like fighting in my brain for why this scene doesn't make sense to me. And the first is like, what does the witch know? Why does she think she's doing this? And then if she knows that, she should know about the other thing. But Diggins, get at the thematic problem with that.
So this is, I think, the biggest like substance difference between the original movie and this. Like the biggest thematic difference, rather, which is this movie seems to imply that like Mulan is like hiding part of herself, like I don't know, because she's ashamed of it or something, and like it's bad that she's hiding a part of herself, and like she needs to be honest and stop lying.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's not what's happening. It's not that she's ashamed of herself. It's that she literally wouldn't be allowed to do this if they knew she was a woman. And the original movie never like gets that way. Like it never thinks Mulan is like making a mistake or like doing a bad thing by pretending to be a man. It just acknowledges it. It just like accepts that's the reality of the situation. Like that's what she has to do to accomplish this.
Right.
Until she gets to the point where they like respect her and she can be accepted otherwise, which is like, you know, part of the whole self-actualization personal journey she's on. But yeah, I guess, and this goes back to the whole flaw thing. This movie decides that her flaw is lying about being a man. Like, it thinks that her doing that is a bad thing that she is doing, and not like a thing she's doing out of necessity. And it's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, and it's it's so strange because then what it does, so like she's her. Usually in any other movie, or in a good, well-written movie, so like not any other movie, because Suicide Squad does this too, and they just play it off as a joke. But usually, the thing that stops the bullet is kind of supposed to be the good thing, or something. It being there is helpful, or it's like, oh, I forgot about this pocket watch this person gave me. That was that. Oh, now I see the value in it.
This reminds me of my personal connection that will help me become a stronger person.
And in this, it's like and then she takes it off and takes off all of her armor as if that was the problem.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
she's like, now I will let them all know that I am a woman because this is a smart thing to do. Like in this scene in the original, it's like because she gets injured and a doctor is tending to her, they all find out. She doesn't like decide she's going to tell all them for no reason.
And then the other thing is, if this movie weren't Mulan, and it was just some random superhero movie or something, or like Avatar or something like that, like the Airbender one, where you needed to do the magic that she needed to do to shoot a big fireball at the mountain to cause an avalanche. She needed like a full range of motion or something. Her taking off the armor doesn't serve any functional purpose either in that moment. It's just like a weird, like, here, it's me, Mulan, but like, it doesn't make her faster or safer or harder to see or anything like that. It's just a thing that the movie does because Zack Snyder, whoever it is that directed this movie, and like has Zack Snyder flowing through them, like through, like a bird spirit has taken him over, thinks it looks
Phoenix
cool.
Almost.
Yeah. Because
then maybe it's a change that the Chinese government insisted on because they wanted to make it very clear to their citizens that lying to your government is a bad thing and you should never ever do it. It's not a thing heroes do.
That's very possible. Because then, now that she has become true to her heart and whatever, the tide of war changes now. Can either guys walk me through what happens when she gets back?
Oh my dear God! So I can't remember the full sequence of events. My brain goes right to she made Avalanche.
No, yeah. So okay, first thing that happens,
the eco-terrorist organization from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, she's like fire bad.
But before that,
yeah, there's stuff before it. But
so
like,
then they're all getting shot and whatever, and then the bad guys are getting shot with arrows, and then Witch turns into 1,000 bats or whatever, or birds or something, and then she starts tormenting them, and they're like, "Quick, phalanx formation thingy,
do the thing from 300."
Exactly, yeah. And maybe this is a fault of me not quite understanding what was going on in the scene, but really it feels like a fault of the movie and scope generally. Then the villains pull out the first trebuchet, a trebuchet, which I think they brought for Siege, and then turns out someone in the back was like, I have an idea how we can use this thing now. And they're like, oh, sick. So they turn the trebuchet on, light it on fire, like get it all ready, light the big rock
light
on
a bolter
fire.
on fire, not the trebuchet on fire.
No, yeah.
Can you imagine? Fuck this shit.
And then they release it, and this thing soars through the air, and these guys in their phalanx can't see out of it, and just crushes them, hits them dead center, and then it's revealed that there's 6 of them. And I'm like, oh, good. I guess our main characters weren't in that one. But, like, that seemed like game over for a second.
These sniper shots they pull up with the goddamn trebuchet. I know it's just small detail, but, like, I can't get over it. I guess when you're a hammer, everything's a nail, but, like, these things are meant to hit, like, castles and walls and shit. Like, really, we're gonna go after individual things? And also, like, the witch has such a very specific set of powers. I don't know why she couldn't, like, turn into, like, a bunch of birds or bats, whatever, fly around the phalanx, and then just, I don't know, possess one, and they stabby, stab, kill.
DJ, I think you'll find that wasn't a phalanx. That was a testudo formation.
Oh, very good. Very good. I mean, I called it a phalanx first, so it is my fault. DJ called it a 300, which is still wrong, but closer.
Still extremely wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll hide in the shade. We'll hide in the shade.
But so speaking of hide in the shade, right? So one of the things about Bori Khan that I found so strange as a general is he uses his witch for stuff that he doesn't need his witch for. Like that bit where it's like his guys, let's say the trebuchet was always part of the plan, and it was like, what we'll do is we'll get them to hide in little turtle shells, and then we'll hit them all with trebuchets while they're not looking. And it's like, we'll see, what can we do? What can we do to make them put up the turtle shells? I guess the only thing is birds. Like, you guys have arrows. Just shoot a lot of arrows at them, and they'll do that. None of the things you're using your witch for seem to need a witch. She doesn't need to infiltrate the thing if you're going to run up the walls. And, like, if anything, this witch should have been in a cage somewhere. And then it's like, oh, Bori Khan is imprisoning her, and he's, he's exploiting her. But no, it's like he uses her to do things that any normal army could do, or just not do at all. Especially since in the original Mulan, there is that bit with like a hail of 1,000,000 arrows, and like it's like the bit with the It's not exactly the same thing. It's closer to 300, but when they throw up all the grappling hooks, it's like, look at all the dudes they have. You could have definitely gotten away with that with arrows here, but instead they use a lot of birds. And you know what?
It's also...
The movie's still not over. There's so much more movie.
Just a quick aside. That also could have been an interesting dynamic where if she's like, you used me to do all these mundane things. Why aren't I part of the strategy or blah, blah, blah. It's like, you only think I'm something for parlor tricks, but I can offer so much more. And Bori Khan's like, fuck you, lady.
Yeah, right? But she could be like, oh, I am actually in charge, and I could do whatever I want, and maybe she'll kill him at that point. I don't know. But she, it's just the worst. So then she wins the war. Oh, wait. So the sequence of events is still stupid, but it's about to get way stupider. So Mulan rides in, and I'm 90% sure she rides in and stops somewhere right in the middle between the shields and the trebuchets.
Yep, and because she's there, and then the trebuchet takes out one of the guys, and she's like looking in horror, like, "Oh, I hope it wasn't my boyfriend."
Now, I would assume this whole 50-plus person army isn't on trebuchet duty. I assume part of the army is on shoot guys that try to run away duty, and it boggles my mind that she's able to just waltz onto this field of battle, no armor, which, like, fine, whatever. Maybe she can, like, kick arrows away if she needs to, but they don't even bother. They're just, like, they're the laziest soldiers. And then she comes up with an idea, because she saw the original Mulan. She's like, if I get them to shoot, if I shoot the thing, then that'd be sick and make an avalanche, but I can't because I don't have a trebuchet. They have a trebuchet. So she goes and scoops up all the helmets. Which it reads as kind of a clever thing in the moment, but like, A, this Mulan's never not been clever, and B, the timing of it just doesn't work at all, and then somehow gets behind these guys.
I swear, like I said, I'm like, oh, she already did that, right? But nope.
I was like, did I have a stroke?
Watching it right now, it's crazy. She legit teleports.
And then
it's what's crazy, and I realize this movie wasn't made for a streaming service, but it's like extra funny to put that shit in a movie on a streaming service when you could go back immediately, not in a theater, when you're like, oh, I probably misremembered.
Right? Yeah, you can't give them the benefit of the doubt or like fill in the blanks. You really have to have a movie. And like, there's nitpicking that's like fun nitpicking, like what we do, and then there's like CinemaSinsy nitpicking. And CinemaSins will... Yeah, exactly. That'll probably point this out at some point, but like... I think, A, it's probably a flaw of the movie that it's so boring that your brain is like, what's going on here? Like, how can I entertain myself besides just watching the boring movie? But also, it's like, I think anybody would find that kind of hard to just conceptualize. Like, there is a certain amount of just, like, geography to a scene like that the director has to communicate to make the scene work, and they didn't even kind of. Because, then she appears behind them with a line of little helmets that are like not, just peeking almost over the rocks, and she shoots at them or something, right? She like throws a rock. I don't know. She gets their attention.
Yeah, she shoots an arrow at the bad guys, and the bad guys are, look, helmets! And then they start shooting at the helmets.
Yeah.
Get rid of these helmets.
It's pretty wild that they think that is a winning strategy.
Right.
Because, like, are they trying to make an avalanche?
I don't know why they're like, we're going to hit a bunch of infantry guys with a trebuchet.
Yeah.
I don't know what part of the strategy.
I mean, they were already doing that.
But,
right, but they were all stuck in their little boxes.
Yeah. These guys can move, probably.
And they're all in a line.
I guess the theory would be that they're protected because they're on this very specific spot of cover. So if you attack that with artillery, they no longer have that cover, and they're going to be wide open for you to pick off with your arrows. That would
sure.
be the logic in my mind.
Well, but
I would take that.
Oh, but then the other problem is, like, what I don't get is, like, why? Because we've only seen him use a trebuchet once, right? That wasn't a witch doing it, which would have made sense if they're like witch and they have her like a chain, so like pull her out, like point the trebuchet so it'll hit all their things because you're perfect, so you can do it. But they, without any assistance, are good at aiming. So when they completely miss Mulan and hit the side of the mountain, I'm like, they must have wanted to hit the side of the mountain because it's not like Mulan ran away. She was still there. They just didn't hit her. So, like,
sorry, I just love the idea of them pointing at the witch and being like, "Witch, you know the sorcery that is math. Aim these trebuchets."
Maybe that's all it is, you know? Maybe Mulan just has, like, a good brain. Like, you know how there's that meme where, like, a cat's judging a jump and you see, like, all the triangles and stuff going on in its head? Maybe it's that. Maybe she's not like magic. She just knows extra good, like, you know, geometry. But, yeah, no, they just completely miss and instead hit the giant mountain behind her and cause a big avalanche.
But the weird part is they don't hit at, like, the top where you imagine an avalanche would come from. They hit, like, the base of the mountain.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, like, a weird spot. And, like, and then what's so strange, and I don't know if this is an indictment on me or the movie, but, like, so the rock hits the base of the mountain. She puts her whole hand down on where she's standing, and then there's a tremor. And I'm like, did she make that tremor?
You're not the only
like,
person that asked this question, besides me also in the moment being like, what's this supposed to mean? Also, the movie was like, or I heard other people have the same question.
Because I don't know what she is, so I'm like, oh, I guess what I thought was, I guess that the rock didn't do what she wanted, or maybe started it, but she's like, I'll just start an earthquake. I couldn't figure it out.
This is part of the problem, I think, where it's like in the original movie, Mulan's like thing that is like what she could do, what she brings that other people don't, is that she's clever. Yep. You know, she figures out how to climb the pole. She figures out to cause the avalanche, and that will wipe out the army. She figures out how to break into the palace to rescue the emperor. Like, that's her thing. In this movie, her thing is supposed to be that she has the chi superpower, but they kept the big solution to this part of the movie, which she figures out not by having superpowers, but by being clever. So it's like, you get to this, and you're like, so I guess her having chi didn't matter for this part, even though that's supposed to be her big thing? All right.
Right. Like, yeah, I was with you, DJ, because you know what it reminds me of? Like, Star Wars and stuff. There's that one bit that was in all the Last Jedi trailers where Rey's got her hand on the ground and it, like, rumbles a little bit.
Yes.
And then my brain was like, oh, that. So she's doing it. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure within the text of the movie, that was just her being like, oh, good, an avalanche. Like, just assume it's an avalanche and run. There's no... And also, like...
That's what I always do.
The way that she, like, does it, the ground is, like, visibly moving. Like, and all these other guys are completely caught off guard by this. And for, like, in my head, I think maybe this scene works the other way, where there's an avalanche that no one can detect but her. But, like, at least for us, the audience, it's like an avalanche is coming. And all these Boricon dudes are just like... And they didn't hit her, but they also don't follow up. They just completely miss her and then go back to work. Like, and then they all get wiped out because they weren't paying attention to the avalanche, but Mulan's able to survive.
This movie, man, there's so much nonsense, and like, I guess that's the thing where like none of this is like interesting because everyone acts to everything with just the same emotion, and it's like, oh no, avalanche, oh no,
oh yeah,
and then when they find out it's Mulan, they're like, actually, there's like a little bit of weight in the scene, but barely. And what pisses me off is like, and again, you have to compare this to the original just because those are the rules, but like. In the first movie, she's like, please don't. No, I was just trying to save my father. I beg you, have mercy, when they find out she's a woman. In this, she, like, walks forward, kneels on the ground, puts her hands out, and she's like, kill me if you must. I did what I needed.
Well, right, because in the original movie, the conflict was, like, this family dynamic that she was trying to preserve and, like, bringing honor and whatever, which, like, cliche as it is, tracks with like, I don't want to be in trouble. Don't get mad at my dad. But like with this, yeah, she's like, never mind. I'm a superhero now. It's completely the dynamic has changed.
And it's also part of where it's like part of the thing where it's like this movie thinks it's bad that she lied about being a man.
Yeah,
where it's like she's not like, oh, come on, I still did all the good stuff. Please, don't punish me. She's like, I did a very bad thing, and I know. I'm so sorry.
And there's a part of me, too, like, so she rides back. They didn't see any of this. Like, they were in their formation. Not like they seemed to kind of catch the end of it. But for most of it, they were in their formation. Otherwise, I would have seen the trebuchets coming. I feel like Mulan could just ride up on the horse and just be like, oh, hi, my name's Mulan. I'm from here. I saw 8 guys get murdered from your team. One of them kind of looked like me. He's dead now. I'm going to go. You guys won the war. See ya. And then just go home. And then go. Yeah. Okay, Dad, I know this is going to sound crazy, but they think the one that's your son is dead. So we're going to have to throw a fake funeral for your fake son. But besides that, I think we're good. There's no consequences to them seeing me. They didn't see me get unmasked or anything. We're fine.
Yeah.
But Nando, then she would have to do more lying. And as we all know, lying to the government is the worst thing you could ever do.
That is a good point. Because, yeah, it's... And the nice thing about the government is they're nice, They're good people, trustworthy in every sense. And we have to destroy the invaders. Noble or whatever, it doesn't matter. Kill them all.
Are they originally from that section of the world?
Not
Sure.
even close. Oh, are they? Yeah, maybe.
Well,
they're
Uyghurs,
not from there now. Sure.
The Chinese government says otherwise, but everyone else who has studied the issue says that region of China is where the Uyghurs are from.
Oh, sure. I was just going on more of a general nationalism thing, but yes, absolutely. That part of it tracks way too strangely. And then I think the movie kind of rushes to the end where... And this is a funny thing, too. When Mulan and the witch have their first confrontation, when the witch is like, you're lying to yourself, and then she fake kills her but doesn't, and they have that thing, and then she saves the day. Me and the person I was watching this with were like, kind of, what's left? And I'm like, oh, the Green Goblin scene, where the Green Goblin takes her up to the city and is like, me and you, Spider-Man, we can rule them all. And then we get this Green Goblin scene.
Willem Dafoe, what are you doing here?
Oh, my goodness.
2 weeks. Scott will be dead. I love Willem Dafoe, except for in most of his movies, but I love him in that. I enjoy him in other movies, but Willem Dafoe and Spider-Man...
Green Goblin! You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us!
You think you're Spider-Man. He's the best. Remember that part where he breaks into J. Jonah Jameson's office, and he's like, tell me who takes pictures, and Jameson's like, I'll never tell. And then Spider-Man shows up, and Green Goblin just goes, sleep, and then sprays him with a little purple sleeping gas. That part's awesome. The other part that's great is the part where he busts into Aunt May's thing while she's doing her prayers, and she's like doing the deliver us from evil. And he's like, finish it! Finish the prayer! This is for me and me alone, I guess.
I can't finish unless you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
So anyway, they have their Spider-Man thing where Mulan and her have and this is where like Mulan and her should be like, you see how we're both kind of similar, but not a little bit in specific ways that the movie has explained over the last, I guess, hour and a half. Let's kind of see what the point of that is. But in this, it's like, you're a witch, I'm a witch. That's pretty much it. I'm kind of bad. You're kind of good. You're accepted by your people. I'm not. You want to team up and be witches? I didn't think so. You go save China. This doesn't really have anything to do with me anymore.
There could have been something there if they had developed the chi stuff, because the basic point she's making is like, hey, you think I didn't want to like be good with my powers instead of evil? They literally won't let you use your chi like for China. So your choices are to suppress it forever or to like become an exile like me. And I'm like, if we had developed this idea at all in the movie at any point before now, this would be a compelling argument that is being made right now. But we haven't. Yeah. So...
And really, you just need two scenes. You need one scene during the army where some guy has chi who's sick with chi, and everybody's like clapping for him. Yay! Sweet chi guy! Hooray! And then you need another scene earlier where Mulan almost uses the powers in the middle of the thing, middle of the village or something, and or even she uses them. So like similar to the scene with the chicken, except it's one thing, nobody sees it. And Dad's like, what are you, out of your mind? We can't show your powers. Here's the stakes. This is a thing that you need to know going into this. Otherwise, it won't make any sense. But, yeah, the movie doesn't have either of those. So we have no idea how any of this like relates to the larger story or what the characters want. Or that's why I think the stakes for this movie are so bad.
It's also like immediately undercut in two ways.
Yes.
One is, as you pointed out in the original... it's very clear that the penalty for what she did is supposed to be death, and Shang is like already in recognition of like what she's done for them is like, I'm not gonna kill you, but like you gotta go.
Yeah.
So it's like already like this is the best she's getting out of them for everything she's done. Whereas in this, it's like the penalty is expulsion, and we're doing that. So goodbye. And then all she has to do is show up again and be like, oh, but come on, guys. And I'm like, yeah, all right.
Right, yeah.
They even say, if you show your face again, we kill you. Like, they tell her that.
Yeah, and she's like, but come on. And they're like, all right, not only can you rejoin the army, but you're in charge of army now. Here's my general. Yeah.
And this is the part, and the crazy thing about that is... she only is able to get them back on her side by being like, also, I know this doesn't sound like it makes any sense because of kind of what's been going on, but their witch told me that something's up, and we all need to work together to stop Bori Khan, and not the witch, but maybe, from taking over China.
But wait, Mulan, why would the bad guy disclose their plans to you? That doesn't make any sense. They would just kill you after. Mulan's like,
Commander,
hey,
she's just really dumb. I don't know what to tell you about this witch. I don't know if you've seen what she's been doing, but I just don't think she gets it. It's like Mac and It's Always Sunny, where she pulls them all, and she's like, I'm playing both sides. It's going to be fine. It's like, oh, you can't tell us that.
Oh, my God.
But then, and this is the part in the end of the movie where I'm like, oh, okay. Well, the witch must have a plan, right? The end of this movie isn't going to be fighting Bori Khan. We're fighting the witch, who's going to kill the emperor and who was betraying Bori Khan. But also, no, the witch is still a pawn. And it's so
to the very end.
And gets a really weird redemption arc, sort of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it an arc. I would call it half a moment.
Oh, it's pretty long, considering how quickly she was shot and how much time takes place after that. And the urgency of that specific moment. But yeah, so we go to, so it's like, oh, the Emperor Jet Li, who barely comes up, but he's like got this grudge with Bori Khan. Bori Khan bum rushes everybody. And the Emperor does that thing from Dark Knight Rises where he makes all the cops go into the sewer at the same time.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then they all get killed because they're all in the sewer at the same time, and it's like a little box room. It's like a big. It's got like one door, and
it's like a mustering ground. It's for the purposes of gathering all the guards at once to like deliver an address to them or something.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. But then Mulan and her friends all are like, all right, so we got to stop him. And
no cross-dressing this time.
No cross-dressing.
We're going to do it straight.
Like, it's like, all right, my guy, like all of the friend guys are going to go fight in the hallway. And Mulan, so this, speaking of scenes that were constructed in a really weird way, Bori Khan is up with the Emperor, who he has kidnapped at this point, on like kind of on the balcony, I think.
Well, they're at a construction site.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think it's before that.
Right. Sorry.
Because they're still in like the palace, because that's how we have to fight through the palace. You know what it is? He's tricked the Emperor into leaving already, I think.
Right, because the witch turns into his chancellor and is like, Bori Khan wants to duel you out in the new palace.
Yeah.
So you should go meet him there.
So then why does
later the Emperor, when he gets there, gets ambushed. All his guards are killed. And Bori Khan's like, you thought I was going to fight fair, idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
He didn't see Green Lantern.
And then he's like,
your enemy will fight fair.
And then the Emperor's like, how did you turn my chancellor? And Bori Khan goes, did you miss the part where I have a magic witch who can turn into people? Why do you people forget this?
Yeah. No, it's super weird. And then, I guess, you know what, instead of fighting to, because she has to go save the Emperor. She goes where she believes the Emperor is. I'd say one of the weirdest parts of the way this scene is constructed is there's a hallway full of dudes. Pretty much like bad guys from 300. Like kind of looking dudes who all have like scary masks and scary weapons and stuff. I think one of them has like a mace. And
the fucking Knights of Ren.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. Oh, that's so fucking good.
And then Mulan and her 6 or 7 friends or whatever all match up with these 6 or 7 dudes, and they all take them on one-on-one, except for Mulan, who's able to wall run because the walls are like slanted a little bit, and she jumps over all of them. And Hunky Soldier is like, go. We'll stay here. Lock us in. And he makes her lock them into this room. And in my head, I'm like, you guys are doing okay. I think you're going to beat these guys. I don't know why you want to be locked in here with them. Kind of seems like you'd want to be able to leave when you kill them all. But
also, these guys can run up walls. So this only stops you.
Yes, exactly. It's such a weird little scene, but it is just the movie going like, well, this is just... We have too many characters. Like, because in the original, you get Hunky Captain versus the villain and Mulan, and then Hunky Captain has some moments he gets knocked out, and then Mulan kind of personalizes, takes the fight. But here, it's like this stuff's going on with the Emperor outside of town, and then Mulan's got to fight the witch a little bit, although they don't, like, fight. They have another Green Goblin conversation. And then... The witch is like, and then Mulan's like, I'll never join you. And then, this is another one where I can't decide if this is on purpose or not. The witch just turns into a falcon and leaves. And Mulan follows the falcon.
Yeah. No, this was on purpose.
The falcon's like, go get him.
Yeah, because like then when she arrives, Bori Khan's like, you led her here. And she just kind of smiles like, yeah, bitch.
Yeah, but then, like, when he tries to execute Mulan, that kind of seems like a surprise to her. I just can never tell what this character wants moment to moment, or, like, what she expects to happen, I guess, is more my problem with her.
Well, no, she didn't. She let him there because she wanted Mulan to beat him. So, like, she was upset because it looked like he was going to kill her. And she's like, oh, no, this isn't what I wanted.
Right, but so he does it in the scene. He doesn't pull it. He doesn't try to shoot Mulan. He tries to shoot the witch. And the witch is like... Yes.
He tries to shoot
Mulan.
No, so he goes for the witch, and then at the last minute pulls back and shoots Mulan, but it seems like the witch is cool with getting shot, because she's not doing anything about it. It's like, he's like, you'll pay for your transgressions or whatever, and then right at the last minute, and then everybody's like, what? And then she, I guess, turns into a bird and then gets shot. It's...
Maybe she like, could have stopped an arrow that was shot directly at her with her magic chi powers, but... Then when it gets shot at Mulan, she's like, oh no, I can't stop that one.
Sacrifice my body, right?
It's in the script. Crap.
What's that over there? Is that
so
the
she
script?
could turn into like 1,000 birds, right? Why not just have one of the birds take the arrow? Maybe she like loses a pinky.
Yeah, like does her kidney fail then? I mean, you got 2 of those. That'd be fine.
And why not just use the birds from the start? Like, it seems like she wants Mulan to kill this guy, but not her, even though we have no reason to think she couldn't pull that off. especially in the moment
she
where
could.
she shows up for him.
It seems like she easily could.
That's why I think he has to be her prisoner or something in this for most of these things that happen in this movie to work. Like,
or what if he was her?
Or what if he was her? Well, then this would have been his plan all along, and then I'd be equally confused, but still sure.
How good would that scene where Mulan comes in thinking she's saving the emperor, and then the witch is on the throne, and she's like, "Ha, it is me," and also I was Boricon the whole time. Also, like, damn, that would have been good.
I agree. Also, speaking of things in this, this movie just scene to scene doesn't make any sense. The witch takes the bullet for Mulan, right, as the chicken, or the falcon, or whatever.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
Can you fucking imagine if she turns into a chicken?
Well, then it would have taken the movie full circle.
Yes, that's right. But yeah,
chickens instead of flowers.
So as a falcon, right, Bori Khan is there for this. He sees this. I'm not even that mad that he doesn't kill Mulan with his second arrow, as dumb as that is. He just, like, kind of lets her go or whatever. But, like, he sees that the witch is dead and Mulan isn't. So then he keeps going with his weird little torture plan to, like, kill the Emperor. And Mulan shows up and he's like, "You? How?" And they have, like, this stare down. Like, what the fuck did you think happened to her? She just went home?
Do you even know who she is? Like,
I guess that too. Yeah, she just like.
Well,
I mean,
what's her face? The witch did tell him there's a woman. You know,
yeah,
she's not leading them. Well, no, because she does say there's a woman who leads them. They have a woman who blah 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 blah.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, there is that exchange.
I mean, he goes to shoot her, so it seems like he knows she's important when he does make the witch sacrifice herself. But like. It's more just that he's surprised to see the person he didn't shoot again, like next to him later. He's like, he just forgot she existed. But then she loses the sword, and they have this weird, fun little Mr. Magoo duel where they both get on a beam in the middle of the thing.
It's so silly.
I didn't want that. I wish the whole movie was that. If it was cool kung fu set pieces, I would have loved it.
I agree wholeheartedly.
But it's mostly bullshit. And every so often there's something that kind of resembles this. I'd say this ending almost feels like it was just part of a different movie, with the bit where the Emperor like does all the stuff with the cloaks and whatnot. Because it's pretty bizarre. And this is where we get the Phoenix Daenerys shot that we love so much.
Oh my god.
Always works in movies.
Every film student, just do that.
Yeah, man.
Do that.
It's like she wanted a nice Instagram pic real quick. She's like, get the one with me with the wings behind me. Bori Khan falls, does not die. Lands, I guess, like 50, 60 feet at least. But, like, still has an arrow and it still has the presence of mind to be like, I can shoot them.
You're dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta get that revenge, bro.
And then the Emperor catches the arrow, which is kind of cool, I guess. It's like, I don't really care about that guy, but whatever. And then Mulan does this weird little arrow kick, which he, like, gives her a nod, as if it's a thing.
Yeah, like, when you have chi magic, you can do arrow
he's
kick.
like, you're a chi warrior, so I know you can do the arrow kick. That's one of the
right?
most basic chi moves.
Yeah. And then Bori Khan gets killed, and he gets shot with that arrow. Really strange detail that I'm like, because I'm going through the movie right now, just trying to see if I missed it. It seems like they told the actor that was playing Bori Khan, who's laying on the ground, okay, and now the arrow is going to hit you. So what I want you to do is clutch your chest as if it is holding an arrow, as if you are just catching an arrow, but you're dead and caught. He has no arrow. It seems like they were like, we're going to CGI the arrow in, but they didn't do that. So there's a scene where he like kind of grabs at his chest, but there's nothing there.
My guess is that he missed the arrow.
But you'd still see it in the shot. Like it would still be present.
Or rather, it would be obvious that he didn't succeed if you can't see the arrow, because it's like, well, it hit him somewhere else then.
I guess that's true. But we see it later. I think.
No. I'm saying that's why it's silly. Is because like what I think it should have been is it should have been like. It does have his hand like clasped around the shaft, like he caught it, and then like he lets go, and you see it doesn't move, and you see like he caught it after it when it hit him. Like that would be the way to do that reveal.
Yeah, it just seems like they forgot to CGI the arrow, and And then he's dead. And this is another thing that really confused me, and I really think the end of this movie has a kind of Star Wars Phantom Menace kind of feel, where there's like 3 fights happening at once, and it has to keep cutting back. And like after we've killed Bori Khan, the main villain, we have to get this resolution where like Hunky Soldier also gets his dudes. But it's really weird because in what used to be a big room full of 12 people fighting, it's just Hunky Soldier and one guy. And then Hunky Soldier beats that guy. And I'm like, oh, is he the only survivor of this group? Seems like all the rest of them must be dead then. And then he looks and he sees all his guys just like huffing and puffing. Like, where you guys help him, dude? Were you guys done or not?
Well, the movie pretends that Cricket is dead for like 3 seconds.
Oh, yeah, that's so weird, too. What the heck was that?
It was a little fake out, like, oh, no, Cricket. And then you have an emotion, and then he breathes, and you're like, oh, thank goodness, Cricket's okay.
Well, my favorite.
The part of this, so the weird thing about the way that one shot is we see Cricket dead, like just lying dead. We don't, from the angle we see him, it kind of looks like he got shot with like 8 arrows. But that's just his quiver. But that's not clear when we look at him. And when he gets up, I'm like, did he just take 8 arrows to the abdomen and he's cool? And then, for a second, I was like, holy shit, was Cricket also a woman? Did his corset save him too? But then that's not what happened, obviously. It is just a weird fake out. And they're like cool dudes and whatever. I don't know, the movie sucks. Then you get the best part of the movie. The actual Mulan, Ming-Na Wen, shows up and introduces Mulan. And you have the bit with the Emperor, and he's like,
Be in my army. And she's like, no, family.
So, having watched both of those scenes, when I saw this first time, when I watched the 2020 version, like, and then before I had watched the 80 or 97 version again, I was like...
98.
Or 98, yeah. I was like, this is really weird. Like, she doesn't, like... She, like, quits in this scene. He's like, join my council. And she says, no, I have to go see my father and tell him about all this. And he's like, oh, if you must. And I'm like, wasn't that part of the deal?
No, you can never go home again.
Yeah. Why does she just has to be defiant, but also nice? Like, she can't be like, she can't completely turn it down because, like I said, then you would be saying no to the government. That would be wrong. But she also can't, like, completely accept it because the movie knows that she can't because they didn't in the original one. But in the original one, he's like, I want to give you a place of honor, or do you accept? And she's like, well, first I have to see my father because that's really what I care about. And then that pretty much works. And then she goes home and they hug and stuff.
You know what's, like, so dumb? Like, I loved in the first movie where Mulan comes back with, like, oh, this is the medal from the Emperor.
Yeah.
And this is a letter saying I'm so good. And I brought so much honor to our family. And he's like, the greatest honor of all is having a daughter like you. It's, like, short, and it's like, contrite, and it's beautiful, and it's a great scene. And in this movie, they couldn't even repeat that. It was, like, the long whole fucking thing, and
yeah.
just...
No, I agree, and I also think this scene is really undercut by the scene before it with the Emperor, because this kind of plays like a fake out to only dad in a way that's kind of awkward. Where I think if Mulan won the war and then just bolted, you get this kind of like they come and get her, and we as the audience know what's coming, but still, it's like that's kind of a better thing. And then when the dad like comes in and is like, "No, you'll never take my daughter, I love her so much," it would feel like less than nothing. Like in this, it kind of feels like a joke. Like, oh, you didn't tell him, Mulan? Just, hey, I won the war, by the way. It's probably what this is. But yeah, she just like lets him embarrass himself. But like, yeah, just don't do the thing with the Emperor at all, and just go straight here. Because it doesn't make sense in context, and it ruins the next scene. And then she gets the new sword with the family virtue on the other side.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, you guys.
It's great.
Sure.
And then it ends, and then it's, like, over. Now, I would say this movie made a lot of mistakes. None of them made me more angry than when the movie quoted the songs. Like, use the words from the songs in speech as if those sound like normal words someone would say. and B, as if like throwing in my face the memory of those songs that all rule and the movie doesn't put in. And also, I'm pretty sure the credits have some version of whatchamacallit, Reflection.
Yeah, they actually got Christina Aguilera to sing Reflection again.
It's like, man, just put in the goddamn movie. Mulan doesn't have to sing it, but you can put the song in there.
No, people don't care about the songs anymore.
And they use the motifs, like, as if we heard the song
Hey, use
later.
that Reflection motif a lot.
It's so weird. It's like they forgot how that works, that you have to play the first... You have to give me the song, and then you get to do a motif and have that have any meaning. It just assumes everyone's seen Mulan, and we all know what that bit is. But yeah, because they also have the, like, tranquil as a forest with a fire within, like, line thrown in there as a spoken word line. And it just reminds me of Scar's song that's actually a poem in the new Lion King movie. And it's just like, come on, guys, you were so close. Just a little bit more effort. But I wonder... Do you think maybe, like, China? That was a China note. It's like, don't do any songs because it's so hard to tell.
I don't think so because they don't do it with any of them really.
Well, with the live action movies, they always.
That's
do.
what I'm saying. With the live action ones, it feels like they're like whenever they do them, it feels like they're doing them begrudgingly, like they didn't want to, but they're like fine.
I feel like Lion King, they lean into it because, like, they got Donald Glover and Beyonce.
Yeah, and so Aladdin, they, like,
more
had
deliberate.
Will Smith do a Robin Williams impression for the songs, and that didn't work, which is crazy because at the end of the movie, the credits are over what would obviously be the version of that, Friend Like Me, with Will Smithing instead of doing the thing. But then, what's the other one we did? Aladdin, Lion King. What's the other live-action remake we talked about? You already named it. I forget. It's not Beauty and the Beast.
Jungle Book.
No, it's not Jungle Book. It's not Cinderella.
It's not Lady and the Tramp.
It's not Lady and the Tramp. Maybe it's not. For some reason, I thought I'd said 3, but I think I might have been wrong about that. Although Jungle Book does really, like, you know, have a hard time shoehorning in the music. Oh, Dumbo, which Dumbo had no interest in doing the music. Hey, man, I'll take Dumbo over this. I think Dumbo was a wild swing and a miss, but I kind of liked it. It had, like, so...
You know what? Listen, I spent, like, 3 hours last week defending Green Lantern. I can't fault you on this one.
Yeah, like, I mean, and I see what you mean with Green Lantern. I think, like, Michael, what's his name? Michael Keaton being evil Walt Disney just doesn't necessarily, like, do anything better with Dumbo. And Dumbo was never a movie that we really needed to have remade. But, like, man, that's a wild enough change that I'm down to watch it. And, like, yeah, I'm sure I'll forget about this movie in a week. Whereas Dumbo, every so often, I have a reminder that it exists. Obviously, not right now, but in other times. What else? Anything else stick out to you about this movie that stunk?
I feel like we hit all the points. There was weird, like, and this is, like, odd stuff, but, like, I think there were weird bits where she was, like, wearing makeup. It's like immediately as she becomes woman, after she like dies and reborns, like she has makeup on now, and it's like my hair is perfect, like weird things like that you catch. You're like,
well, I mean, is that any different than drawing her chin differently when she's disguised and when she isn't?
No, it's fair. It's just again like stuff like weird stuff you catch. It's like what Nando said, because like when it's like this movie makes your brain hurt, you're like noticing all these things instead of being like grabbed by the story. The story didn't grab me in any way.
And it was just boring. Like, I think...
Yeah.
And like I said, joyless, but also, like, it's not that it doesn't... It has to be jokey and whatever, but, like, even almost every other Disney live-action remake, there's at least a little spark of something where you're like, oh, this is why they got Will Smith, for this little bit where he does Hitch. Or, this is why they got Donald Glover, because they think it's fun to have this, or whatever. Like... There's just... I don't know what they were going for with this, besides just some of the action choreography being, like, above average for a Disney live-action remake, but that's about it. Like, it would never... I'm sure... I don't know. I don't think if you showed this to anybody who's, like, a big fan of Kung Fu movies, and they would be like, oh, sick. I can't even imagine. Like, this seems like they're really taking, you know, like, doing the baby steps, or, like, you know, Nick Jr. version of... actual cool martial arts movie stuff, but I don't know.
But also not bothering to explain what things like chi are. Because even the Nick Jr. version would give, like, I don't know, 7 to 14 second exposition on what it is.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It's a life force. Flows through everything. Boom.
And it just doesn't want to pick a lane. Like, it wants to have everything and be everything. So it's like, she's a superhero, and she's not. And she has to hide her powers, and that she's a woman, and she doesn't. And the bad guy is a woman, and she has superpowers, and the other bad guy doesn't have those, but he does kind of. Like, I don't know. It's so contrived.
Yeah.
I didn't love the Mulan. I thought she was fine. I thought all the actors were fine.
Yeah, I thought there was, like, a lot of one note, and again, I don't know if it's writing or directing, but, like, not a lot of, like, complex emotions going on. Like, even the actress playing Mulan, like, there's never a point where she's, like, showing a lot of emotion, whether it's, like, incredible sadness, rage, anger, pathos, like, nothing.
Yeah.
Very one note, so...
I mean, they cut all the scenes where the emotion would happen. Like, they cut the scene where she cuts her hair with the sword and all that shit. Like, yeah, they got rid of all those.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I don't know. They shouldn't do that. They should stop making these movies. What would you like to see? Is there any Disney live-action movie that you think could benefit from a remake or animated movie? You know what I mean?
If it was a true comedy, like you weren't trying to do, like, the edgy thing... I think, like, 101 Dalmatians remake could be fun.
But they already did the perfect one.
Yeah, with Glenn Close. I mean, they're making one with Ellen, or, what's her name? The one from Superbad.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's a Cruella de Vil movie, but it's like it seems like it's going to be like she's punk rock or something. I don't know. I guess, you know what the other Disney live-action kind of, not like live-action remake, but like Disney remake we never talked about was Mary Poppins. Hill? Yeah, Jonah Hill. Now, what the heck's her name? The girl from that. Emma Stone. She's going to be...
Referring to Emma Stone as the girl from Superbad blows my mind.
I know, right?
That's what I know her from. I mean, I know her from other stuff, but that's where I was introduced to her. And she is the girl from Superbad.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not what I would reach for.
No, I mean, she's very talented. I mean, she's going to be one, she's going to be the girl from Cruella or Deville or whatever the heck they're going to call it. Oh, and then I guess there's Maleficent, which is the other Disney live-action remake, which we also haven't talked about, which they also made a sequel for recently, which who gives a shit? But
yeah, I mean, Maleficent's less of a live-action remake versus a like Wicked style story from the other side kind of deal, you know?
Yeah, and it seems
like
that's
Maleficent's
what
telling
Cruella
a very
will be.
different story, right? Yeah, so I'm thinking of straight like the reason I say 101 Dalmatians because I think it's like a fun like movie,
yeah.
But I think if you played it like straight comedy, got some good actors, like that could be really fun. Because that's the problem. Is like all these movies that they've like remade, or even Lion King, they made it so serious. Like Lion King's supposed to be fun.
You know, I gotta say, you really have to respect Roger Dearly, who writes a whole song about how much his wife's boss sucks. What a king!
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's a good song. It rules.
It is a good song.
It slaps.
She's in the house when he does it too. He doesn't give a fuck.
Baller move.
How about this? Let's make Robin Hood, but with real furries this time. Yeah,
like a Fantastic Mr. Fox kind of situation?
No, like people in fursuits. Like we'll cast only furries. You know, it's not my thing, but I think that would be like the movie coming full circle. I
meant to at one point during this podcast call the Hawk the witch's persona, and I forgot to do it. I'm deeply sorry to everybody.
You missed it.
I messed up. I have no one to blame but myself.
I don't know. I'm looking through like lists of Disney animated movies, and none of them. I think you could do a cool Emperor's New Groove.
Ooh,
that movie's
Sword in the
good.
Stone.
Yeah, that could be something. Like it's such a weird kind of out of place Disney movie that it's like,
yeah,
if you remade that now and just made a super earnest kind of adventure story that's kind of loosely the story from that movie, you could probably do a good job. I don't know though. There's like I feel like they've bled the well pretty. Like they've got a Hercules one in the works. They've got Little Mermaid in the works. I can't think of too many others that like anyone wants.
Princess and the Frog would be like the last frontier for that.
Can you
imagine? The last. I mean,
right? Or remaking Princess and the Frog. I mean, you could do.
No, we're gonna do live action Frozen.
Well, the one not the one everybody wants, but the one I've heard some people say they want is Atlantis. just because they're like, that movie's so great. I don't think it needs it, but you could do it.
Treasure
Home
Planet.
on the Range.
Yeah, Treasure Planet, Home on the Range, both good answers. Dinosaur,
Bolt.
the dinosaur one, yeah.
Chicken Little.
Brother Bear. I think it's time. I think we're ready as a society for a Brother Bear.
What about the Brave Little Toaster? Is that
It's not a Disney
I
property.
do not believe so.
Damn.
God, if it
Also,
were.
like, I don't think you could possibly do that movie live action.
Dude,
I'd
that
love
would
to
be
see
fucking
them
good.
try.
Oh,
that would be so much fun.
guys, we're missing the most obvious one. Diggins, I can't believe us. The Great Mouse Detective. How have we not?
I thought you were going to say Oliver and Company. The one
I feel
where
like you
Oliver is a
can't-
kitty cat.
I feel like you can't make another Great Mouse Detective of any kind, though, because how can you possibly replace Vincent Price?
I don't know who that is, but
You
you're
don't know who
probably
Vincent
right.
Price is?
Just
No.
like as a person or in that movie?
Both.
Oh, I mean,
Am
don't
I a
know what to tell
jabroni or
ya.
something? Oh God.
He's a pretty big cultural figure, although he's not the kind of guy that I'm like, everybody on the planet I would expect
he's
to know who he
he's
is.
before our time, pretty much. But he's pretty big, and I would
mean-
expect. I'm surprised. I'm not
Yeah.
like, wow, what a jabroni.
DJ, you watch Saturday Night Live, right? Every so
Yeah.
often they'll do a Vincent Price impression.
You watch
Oh.
Scooby Doo.
Yeah. Which one was that?
That was the 13 Ghosts of
Yes,
Scooby Doo.
that's right.
Where Vincent Price was like their boss.
Yeah, just some guy who. All right, explain Vincent Price to DJ and the 5 people that don't know who he is that are listening.
He was a
5 of
well-known
us.
character actor who did a lot of like silly horror movies and like B movies and stuff. He was known because he had a very distinctive voice that was very kind of creepy and sort of light and a little lisping, and it was very.
Yeah,
It was very well suited to the sort of things that he did.
Oh.
He was played by. What the fuck the guy's name is? The one from the movie where a train wreck. Bill.
Oh,
something?
Bill Hader?
Bill Hader. Yeah, he did it. Vincent Price. Like he's but he
okay,
played
I
the
got you.
evil mouse. What's his name? Radigan? Not
Radigan.
Radigan, yes.
Yeah.
And he was perfect.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm assuming he's dead. I haven't checked on him, but
Yeah, he's been dead for quite some time.
yeah, he was pretty old back in
Although,
the day.
I mean, some say that Vincent Price can never truly die.
Yeah, that's a good point. Him and Elvis and Tupac are all hanging out. I don't know. I mean, they shouldn't do any more of these, but they're gonna do them. I think Hercules and the Little Mermaid are the two from like the golden age of animation that they seem to really want to do. No word on Pocahontas just yet, and no word on Hunchback. That would be an interesting one
Oh my goodness, yeah.
because Hunchback has a play that like tours, like a musical. And, like, maybe there's something there visually. I mean, the problem with... I mean, it wouldn't work, but it would probably end up...
Wait, okay, no, Nando, we're idiots. We forgot the most obvious thing DJ would know Vincent Price from,
What?
which is the rap section of Thriller.
Oh, yeah,
oh
that's
my
right.
God, I do. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, great.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Glad we got to my wheelhouse. Thank you, sir.
But, yeah, I mean, they
Yeah,
could
well,
do
Hunchback also... That's got some problematic material in it that I don't think...
Yeah, well, I mean, listen,
Yeah,
if they're going to make their...
The
if they're gonna make their
gargoyles are fucking terrible.
if they're going to make their movie in, in China and thank the concentration camp part of it, then what's stopping them,
Reckless abandon.
Might as well hit the cycle, go do Pocahontas, and then finish it up with the gypsies in the movie that called them that and taught me that was a normal thing people say. Although, like, I don't know, when did that movie come out? 96? Who knew?
It's not great.
Yeah,
Not
aged
great.
poorly, shockingly. next to like
Right.
Pocahontas, Aladdin, and like some of the other ones, it is the most explicitly like racist kind of.
I mean, I like a lot of Hunchback. The gypsy stuff is not great.
Yeah, I think Hunchback works. I mean, Frollo's fun. I think it's got a lot of great themes.
I mean, Hellfire is like...
Yeah.
It's maybe not like the most fun, but it's probably the best Disney villain song.
It is, and he has one of the best Disney villain deaths. He's dragged to hell, and like not even just assumed hell, like literal hell with the devil in it for breaking the devil's rules or God's rules. And it's like, so that's pretty good. I hope they don't do any more, but they'll probably do 1 million of these.
As long as they keep
some
making
reason.
money.
That's the other thing, though. This could I think if this flopped, there's a potential that they'd be like, well, I mean, obviously it would have made money were it not for the pandemic, So,
Ugh,
Yeah, I feel like this whole period of history is going to be like everything they wanted to keep doing, it doesn't matter. They'll be like, well, it was the pandemic. And everything they didn't want to keep doing, no matter how well it does, they'll be like, well, it was the pandemic.
yeah, I think that's a great point.
Any word on New Mutants, by the way? Like, I know it's out, but like how it's doing.
I don't know. It's like a lot of, I feel like
Is it out, DJ?
Yeah.
I believe it is.
We'll never know.
Maybe I was lied to.
I don't know. I have a feeling it'll show up on HBO pretty soon.
Yeah,
Although to be
that's
fair,
right.
like if a movie like New Mutants is going to HBO based off of when it ends its theatrical run, like there's no other movies. So if you're a movie theater and you play Tenet in 8 theaters, you might as well play New Mutants in 1. Because they keep canceling all the rest of them, so maybe it'll never go out of... Maybe it'll be like Rocky Horror Picture Show, where it's just constantly running. It's the most longest, running... I don't know. Yeah. Do you guys want to recommend anything to the fine people?
I would love to.
I would love that.
Let's do it. DJ, what do you got to recommend?
All right, I got a couple quick recommendations. I know this has been recommended up and down, but I started watching the Harley Quinn show, and it's like my favorite thing.
Oh, yeah. So much fun.
Probably
Once
like
again, DJ doesn't trust us to recommend things to you guys. He
right.
feels like he has to do it.
Who's your
Okay,
favorite
fine.
guy?
fucking Bane.
Obviously,
yeah,
King
Bane's-
Shark.
Nope.
So
King Shark
good.
is bad.
No, it's Bane. It's Bane. It's definitely Bane. Also, King Shark is bad. Nando's right. It's not a Ron Funches thing. It's just not fun in the show.
Also, you're also
unfortunately.
wrong. It's Kite Man. Kite Man's the best character in the show. Yeah.
That's a you bias. You have an anti-Ron Funches but a pro-Kite Man bias.
Well, how far in it are you? Where are you in the show?
I'm only like a handful of episodes in, like maybe like 4 or 5.
He'll show up and he'll grow on you. Not just grow on you,
Okay.
like you'll love him. But,
All right.
Yeah, and Gordon's also very fun in the show.
Gordon's
because
so good. I
he's
love how they do Gordon.
Tony
yeah.
Baloney, Christopher Maloney, one of my favorite actors who just keeps popping up everywhere, and he's just like, man, he's at the end of his rope, and he just wants to be friends with Batman.
Yep.
Simple man.
so good.
But yeah, Harley Quinn's great. You said you had another thing?
I do. So this one's a DJ original, fresh off the presses.
Fresh out of the oven.
This is a Netflix movie that recently came out. It's called Love Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah. Who's in that?
Damon Wayans Jr., and I'm not sure of the lady.
The
Hold on, let
lady,
me pull.
I remember seeing a trailer for this and going like, her?
Rachel Lee Cook.
Yes.
I don't know what she's from. I hadn't seen her in anything besides this. She's in the Babysitters Club. Josie and the Pussycats.
She's in the Final Fantasy movie.
Oh
She
my God,
plays
really?
Tifa in Final Fantasy VII Advent. Or no, she's in just the game? Or a movie of the game? I don't know. Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
wait,
VII.
probably-
Which
If
one?
it's Advent Children, then
Advent
it's a movie
Children,
of the game.
yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
movie
that
of
was
the
a
game.
really bad movie they made that takes place after the events of the video game.
It's
Yeah.
awful.
I don't think, have they ever made a good movie? They also made that
Final
other one
Fantasy
that's
one?
also
No.
bad. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
They've
Sure.
made 3 of them, and they're all bad.
Maybe one of these days we'll do them. 'Cause I have no idea what they are.
So anyway, this movie it's a rom-com, and basically the premise is that Rachel Lee Cook, she's our leading lady. She plays like a down on her luck lawyer, like not down on her luck, but she's kind of like Daredevil, where they're poor because they'll take any case. Kind of like one of those vibes. And then Damon Wayans Jr. comes in, and he's just like a rich socialite. He's a former baseball player. And he went on this dating website called Love Guaranteed, and he's like, I can't find love on this website. And they said, if you could have 1,000 dates and not find love, then we'll give you your money back. So he wants to sue Love Guaranteed, to prove that you can't find love no matter what you do. And of course, she's like a righteous lawyer. She's like, I'm not taking this case, but she needs the money, so she takes the case. And you'll never guess, guys, but
He wins the suit.
Yep. She marries someone she knows from work that isn't him.
maybe he could find love after all.
Impossible. The
Yeah, no,
website lied to her.
Yeah, DJ, did you not listen to the premise of the movie? Come on.
Is he an unlovable shithead? What's his deal?
No, so he's like a cynic. but he's like, he's like very nice and earnest.
Sounds like an unlovable shithead to me. What's his why doesn't he ever fall in love with anybody?
That's not made clear.
Oh, okay.
So like, it's not like a Hallmark movie where the villain is a man. The villain, you know who the villain is? It's corporations. Corporations are the villain in this movie.
I can't understand.
You have
that.
my attention.
No, TJ. Like, Diggins, I mean, I'm able to take government as villain, and the emperor and whatnot, and the society, but never corporation. They have our best interest at heart. We're going to trickle down one of these days.
So he's like a nice guy, but he's like very cynical and not being able to find love. But then he meets this very earnest lawyer, and she like fights for the little guy. Like that's what her deal is, and kind of grows on him.
I mean, it kind of seems like this guy is taking the title of the website a little too literally, and also being way too picky. And it's kind of not the website's fault.
Listen. It's a fun. First of all, it's only 90 minutes, and let me tell you, they try so hard to get to that 90 minutes. There's like random slow-mo scenes that they're stretching every bit of this like taffy to get to 90 minutes.
I gotta say, if he really did go on 1,000 dates with online people, with people he found on like an app, then like he deserves the money, just because that shit is exhausting.
I don't know, man. I feel like at a certain point, if you're a baseball player, isn't there like an app for famous people? I don't know what it's called. I've heard about it, but it's like for famous people to date each other, and like it's like good, and you have to get invited to it. I forget what it's called.
Oh, wow.
I feel like he could get on that, and you wouldn't need this crappy one. Although maybe he'd like beat it. So, like he sounds like an unlovable shithead to me. But hey,
no, it's good.
Well, it's a romantic comedy, Nando, so of course he is.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed Damon Wayans Jr.'s performance in this movie. But look, it's a nice little rom-com. If you got like a date night, I'd recommend it. It's only 90 minutes. It's if you're a fan of the town of Seattle, this movie goes so in on Seattle.
Would you say it goes in more or less than Sleepless in Seattle?
Less, but I mean that's a high bar to clear. So,
okay. All right. Well.
Yeah, love guaranteed on Netflix. Check it out; it's fun. You'll have a laugh. It's if you watch Mulan, then this will lift your spirits.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they need a way to stretch this movie out to 90 minutes, he can get lost on the way to her office, and then a phoenix can guide him. Just a dead minute of movie where nothing happens. Diggins, what about you? You got anything fun to recommend to the fine people?
Absolutely. A sequel to a highly acclaimed video game that I happen to love a lot came out this past weekend. Or not this past weekend.
Paper Mario game?
Over a week ago. Like a week and a half ago, I think, at this point. Whatever. Time's fake, listener.
Smart.
And I played it a lot this past weekend, which is what I was thinking of.
Oh, I know what this is. I keep seeing you posting about it, but I don't know what it is. But yes, I know what's coming.
It's called Crusader Kings 3.
Oh, yeah, Crusader Kings.
So Crusader Kings 3 is a grand strategy game, which means it's a game where you're like controlling a country over a period of like hundreds of years, like trying to manage it internally and also externally, waging wars and whatnot, but also raising money, building buildings, keeping the people happy, etc. But the thing that's really unique about Crusader Kings as a franchise is you're not really playing a country. It's set in the medieval period. You can kind of change what date you want, but anywhere from like the mid 800s to the mid 1000s, all the way up to like 1450 is the date range you can play in. And like I said, you're not playing a country, you're playing a dynasty. So like you're playing like the individual king or queen of whatever country you're in charge of. And when they die, you take over as their heir. So like their son or daughter or grandchild, depending on how your inheritance works out, and continue as them. What makes this interesting is that that doesn't necessarily mean you keep playing as the same country, because of your country's succession laws, or maybe because there's a rebellion or a coup or something happens. It could end up being that your child ends up taking over a much smaller kingdom, or maybe ends up being a vassal under a completely different king who has taken over the country. But that doesn't matter because you're not playing the country. You're playing your dynasty. So you keep going with that now duke instead of king or whatever it is. And it's just there's a lot more emphasis on these like interpersonal dynamics. Like your characters have individual stats and like personality traits. There's events that they get like based on like their decisions and their traits. You can like scheme against other people to like try and kill them or kidnap them or befriend them or seduce them.
Ooh.
In fact, there was
just only one interest in this game.
that was actually one in the game I was playing. At one point, I ended up with a queen who had a very high intrigue stat and a bunch of male vassals who were not very loyal. So I seduced all of them, and then because they loved me so much, they started being loyal again. So there's a lesson for all of you.
Nice.
But yeah, no, it has that whole like interpersonal angle. It's almost like if you combined a strategy game with The Sims is how I've heard it pitched before. And I think that's a good description of like kind of the energy you end up with. Anyway, as I said, it's a sequel to Crusader Kings 2, which was a very, very good game with the same concept, but they've really streamlined a lot of it. They've added a lot of new quality of life features. I love the studio that makes this game, Paradox. I love like all of their games, but I'll be the first to admit they're extremely dense and hard to learn and get into. I think this is the easiest of their games to just like pick up and learn, like the easiest any of them have ever been, which means it's still not easy, but it's way simpler than a lot of the other ones, especially if you get in now before they add a bunch of new mechanics. So if anything I said there like is interesting to you or like sounded cool, I definitely recommend you check it out because it's a really phenomenal game and it's probably only going to get better over time. So that's Crusader Kings 3.
Is there multiplayer?
There is, although as again this a game takes like 400 years and the unit of time is a day. Like if the time is advancing, it's advancing by days. So like playing a full game takes a very long time. So it's really something you can like with a group like schedule like, okay, we're going to play from this time to this time when we're all individual dynasties spread throughout the world because the game map goes from Europe all the way to India, including Northern Africa, the Middle East, like the Central Asian steppes, Tibet. It's very big. But yeah, you could have have 4 people say get together and each one's playing their own dynasty, playing the same game at the same time together. And just, when you guys decide to stop, you make a save, stop, and then whenever you just all make a time to start playing again.
Can you all go to war with each other?
Yeah, if you want.
Can you all seduce each other?
Yeah.
Well, that's all that matters. Once you introduce that mechanic into a game, it's like that multiplayer just writes itself.
When your character, because this has happened where I've like had because every character in the game, and by the way, it's not just rulers. Like every ruler has a court, a bunch of courtiers, and like vassals and whatever. So there's tons and tons of characters in this game, and every single character in the game can like do the same things of like scheming or like getting events, making decisions, etc. Obviously, if you're a ruler, there's more decisions you can make because you have the apparatus of a state at your disposal, but still. So, like, while you're playing along, it could be just, like, some random person. Like, you get an event that's, like, the other side of the seduction scheme, where it's like, this character is trying to seduce your character. And you could say no, but you could also be like, all right, let's see where this goes.
So my character, could I, like, stat up my character so they're just an expert at seduction? And then just, like, walk over to all... Like, it's just, like, every day we would play the game and you'd be like, oh, here comes Nando. Everybody lock up your young, like... Not like that
your
young,
sons
but, like,
and
your,
daughters.
everybody, all the maidens and all the maids and all that, put them in the rooms because he's coming to town,
Yeah, there's every character... rulers and heirs are the only ones who can do this, but you can pick a way of life, which is like a focus that you want to have, And one of the intrigue focuses is seduction. So, yes, you can specifically choose for all of your characters, if you so wish, to make them all really good at seduction, if that's really what you want.
That's great.
So, yeah, great game. Check it out.
Sounds cool. All right. Run through two quick ones that I'm like, not like half wrecking, but excuse me. So, real quick, the Avengers game, played through the campaign, really enjoyed it. I think it's a fun Avengers story. Obviously, if you've read about it, there's some bugginess to the game, and I'm not saying don't buy it now or anything. Like if you want to play the story, you can play it, and then you play it later too. But if you're like, oh, I'll wait till they patch it, that's fine. But it is fun, and I'm just gonna like dip my toe into multiplayer soon, so we'll see what that's like. But I've heard that's like playing with 4 people is really where it becomes like it feels different and fun, and you could be like, hey, you shoot the lasers while I'll go beat up the robot. Like that seems like kind of the promise of this game. So played that, enjoyed it, but the story mode is fun. It's got MODOK, and he's great. And he's played by the dude that plays Selena's boyfriend in the last season of Veep. I don't know that actor's name, but he's great. Speaking of boyfriends, and I recommend I watch I'll give this a recommendation. It's interesting. I watched I'm Thinking of Anything's movie on Netflix. Speaking of Netflix movies about relationships.
Oh, I really want to watch that.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's not what I expected, although I understand it even differs from the book or short story or whatever it's about in some pretty interesting, not interesting, but just like just some ways. I don't really have a huge opinion on one way or the other, but it was interesting. But then my full rec, first 3 episodes of The Boys are out. Love it. Such a good show. Have you watched them,
so
DJ?
Good. Yeah, I was going to wreck it, but I kind of knew you were going to wreck it, so I just stuck with Love Guaranteed and Harley Quinn.
Oh, it's
so good.
It's such a fun season. Homelander's still the best, except for the new Super, who is also the best because of where that story's going to end up. There's a bizarre set piece at the end of episode 3 that's very fun. Not even the end, I guess, like near the end of episode 3. And yeah, I will contend, even next to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or any like actual big movie, it's the most well built, next to only Venture Brothers, I think, which is sadly over. Although who knows, maybe they'll bring it back. I think it's the most well built out world of superheroes ever conceived, where like it's just like this is what it would be like, and this is how they would act, and how people would like. They'd be on ESPN. They'd have celebrity funerals. It'd be all this stuff. So I think, and Giancarlo Esposito, fun addition this season. He was in the first season a little bit, but he seems like he's going to be a bigger player here. And yeah, I like where it's going, and I've enjoyed the first season a lot too. I know some people, it's weird because if you go on like Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 90 or something, 98%. It's like, oh, sweet. And then you look at the audience reviews, and it's like 50, and you're like, why? What would people not like about this? Apparently, people review bombed it negatively because it releases weekly, and people are like, "But I want to binge." Screw you, people! You made an enemy of me now. Not for the Rotten Tomatoes thing, but just
who's worse? Those people or Snyder Cut people?
For sure. I really like watching TV. And then being like, DJ, have you watched the thing? And then DJ's like, yep, and now we can talk about it. Not on air, but like just as people. And I could be like, what'd you think of this thing? Instead of this fucking dance we do now where like me and DJ are like, hey, did you finish? Oh, what episode are you on? 6. Okay, so you haven't gotten to the bit where... And it's so much better to watch a thing weekly and then be able to talk about it, especially since like nothing's happening now, at least in America. So like, a nice week-to-week TV show like this, or Mandalorian, or even the Lovecraft show, which I'm not in love with, but still, it's like, all right, cool, week-to-week thing where I get to watch it and then be part of a conversation for a week. I love that way, and I think I'm really happy that The Boys is doing it that way, because I wish more shows would do that. So if you're part of the group that review bomb, like, I don't care. Don't do that in general, but...
It's mean.
It's just like, it's streaming is, or binging is fun, but like, I don't know, man. You can't have both. Like, with episodes weekly release, like I have a good friend of mine who likes, and speaking of Venture Brothers, I'll go over to his house like back in high school, and I'd be like, hey, did you watch the new Venture Brothers yet? And he'd be like, no, I wait till the season's over and then I binge it, just because he likes to do it that way, which is fine. He has the choice, and I get to watch it weekly on the same schedule as everybody else on planet Earth. You can do both, but if it's all out at the same time, then we all watch Umbrella Academy. We watch the entire thing. None of us talk about it because none of us are on the same page. We all meet once, talk about it, and then it goes away forever. So, like, I think as a distribution method for television, I understand why binging became the hot new shit, and Netflix seems to be particularly bad at weekly releases and just, like, promoting shows weekly. But, like, Amazon, Disney Plus, Hulu, like, I think that's the way to go. For a lot of these bigger shows that are event shows like Boys and Mandalorian and, you know, whatever else comes out. So, yeah. But if you like The Boys and you like the first season, it's good. I think it definitely builds on some themes in interesting ways. If you didn't like The Boys, you may like it a little bit more now because of the way some characters have kind of shifted the power balance, but you probably won't like it that much. But it's still fun. So that's my rec. What are we doing next week?
What a great question.
We know yet.
Right?
People
Final
keep tweeting
Fantasy,
us.
The Spirits Within.
Oh, God, I would love it.
God.
I haven't seen it, but I know one of the guys isn't Ben Affleck, but he looks like Ben Affleck, right? Is that right?
That could be true.
I believe one of the characters, I believe he's played by Alec Baldwin. His character model doesn't look like Alec Baldwin, which is fine because he's a cartoon, but he looks like Ben Affleck. And I don't know if this is true or not, but it kind of seems like they wanted Ben Affleck, and he didn't want to do it, and they were like, well, I don't care. Your guy's Ben Affleck still, so we'll just have someone else voice you. But they didn't, like, do an accent, but it's just, like, so weird, because it's so specific.
You know who's in that movie?
James Woods, the worst
Ming-Na
guy ever.
Wen.
Who else?
Ming-Na Wen.
Oh, Get Out. She's cool.
Yeah, she's the main character, apparently.
Oh, really? So you got all-star cast: Ming-Na Wen, James Woods, and Alec Baldwin. 1 out of 3 ain't bad. I don't mind Alec Baldwin in the right roles, but this is so we'll figure this out. Perhaps next week. By then we'll have an idea. I mean, maybe we'll do the Final Fantasy movie. I don't know. It doesn't seem like anything else is coming out for a while, so you guys can tell us. We'll be, you know, open to suggestions. And who knows, maybe some movie will get randomly released between now and then.
Maybe we'll finally do Power Squad or whatever it is that people keep recommending.
What's Power Squad?
That Netflix movie? I think it might be saying the title.
Oh, Project Power.
Project Power, that's it.
Yeah, I watched it. It's kind of boring. Like, I think there's parts of it that would be kind of fun, but it's just like, so, I don't know. If I watched it and I was like, yo, we got to do this, kind of like with, whatchamacallit, with the one from Quibi, I'd be like, yo, we got to, this is a fun one to nitpick, but I don't think Project Power would be all that fun. But I'm sure we can find something. Until then, I guess, anything to plug?
Not a plug in this movie. This podcast should be out before the NFL full season starts, but we have our eliminator pool. I was late on putting it out because I legit forgot football was starting.
Same.
But if you join and win, you get to pick a movie for us to nitpick. So
I mean, we'll plug it
Roger's
again. There's a
hoping
fair
to
amount of
be
you guys in there, so.
Yeah, I think we have like almost 30 people. So Diggins, did you sign up for it?
I did not, no.
You should try it and just, you know.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll send you the link. Then you can pick a movie for us to nitpick if you win.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I could pick a real dog shit movie.
Yeah, you could.
Just real quick, how it works is basically pick a team each week that doesn't lose, and then you can't pick that team again for the rest of the season.
And it's
we
like
usually
last
go to
man standing.
Last man standing, yeah.
Unless it's a tie, and then it's based on points between
So if it's a
differential
tie,
between
It's
winning
really
teams.
just whoever can go the longest without picking the Patriots.
Well, this year,
they might
who
not
knows?
be great this year,
Yeah. This is the
So,
year
it's
they
like
may all suck.
It's like the Chiefs or like the Ravens.
Chiefs, Ravens, you know. There's some teams that are better than others, but I would say this year, I mean, for a million reasons, this is a weird year for football, so hard to say.
Yeah.
The Bucks could be undefeated this year. We just don't know.
And especially because they play basketball, so like that would be crazy.
Wait, no, Bucks, like Buccaneers.
Oh, sorry, you meant the
Oh,
Sorry, I thought you meant
the
the Milwaukee.
reversal.
Sorry, DJ, the football team could win all the football games. So could the Giants. And by Giants, DJ, I mean the football team. And also, there's no way in hell the Giants will go undefeated. I just meant that's a good explanation. That's a good...
sorry, I'm a dumbass. All right.
It's late. Diggins, anything to plug?
Yeah, check our Twitter.
Hey, everybody, take care of yourself out there.
It's a good idea. I was going to say I've been streaming Twitch a bunch, twitch.tv/NandoVMovies, which is sometimes where we'll stream if we're like Fall Guysing or whatever. Also, if we ever play that game, what was it called? Among Us?
Among Us?
We probably need
we
more
have
people,
to.
so we'd probably like, get our friends together. But if we streamed that, I would probably stream it. Diggins probably would too. I don't know how it works if like we would both stream it and you guys would just keep both windows open. I don't know. But yeah, so if you want to watch that, that's there. Also, I'm working on a video. It's just became relevant again about how Star Wars Episode 9 sucks. And just like the rewrite of that, which I'm very excited about. I was excited about it when John Boyega complained, and I'm even more excited about it now that it's clear that J.J. Abrams just should never be given the keys to any franchise again. But yeah, so that's all on the YouTube channel. But nothing else. So until next week, I am at Nando V Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Zippy by Day.
I'm at This Is an Odd Name.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Woo. Bye. We love you.